Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, multiple NBA insiders are now reporting that Bucks star Damian Lillard officially tore his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Bucks-Pacers series. This will officially end his season this year and could cause him to miss most, if not all, of next season. 2 playoff games going on today. You've got in the East, the Heat taking on the Cavs in Miami. The Heat, they need to win this game if they want to keep their playoff hopes alive. They're down 3-0 in the series. Cleveland is favored by 8.5. Tip-off at 4:30. Then at 7, the Rockets look to even their series at 2 games all in Game 4 against the Warriors in San Francisco. Jimmy Butler is questionable for Game 4. He missed all of Game 3. He's still dealing with the pelvis injury he suffered back in Game 2. Warriors are favored by 3.5 at home. The Mariners are off today, fresh off their series victory over the Marlins. Seattle has now won 6 series in a row. They start a short 2-game series against the Angels tomorrow in Seattle. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
Do it every morning. Dirt and
Welcome in, Danny and Dusty. No Dusty today. No Rusty today. Will Ortner behind the glass. Rust, I think he's got a case of the bubble guts. And Dusty, I think he's recovering from an all-Ducks weekend. A little spring practice, spring scrimmage, spring game, and some Ducks baseball. Will, how you doing, man?
Not too bad. Enjoying a wonderful Monday.
I'd say it's a wonderful Monday, but it's not.
Why not?
It's not.
Oh, I know why.
Yeah, we'll get to it here in a second. Sports day was ruined yesterday. Like that, it sucks, and selfishly, it is what it is. And we're going to talk about it a lot, so we won't dive into it right here. But how was your weekend?
It was good for the most part.
Yeah?
I mean, I did occur a tragedy.
Oh yeah?
Yes, I wore a hat when it was cloudy, but it was sunny enough to come through. We're fighting tan lines. It's not like
the forehead tan line?
Yeah,
like the trucker hat backwards tan line?
It's not a cardinal sin to the point of like, you're not going to see me and be like, whoa. But when that light hits right, you go, oh, no.
Why do you have a sideways D on your head?
Well, it's this similar trucker hat. It's not good. I didn't know the sun was rising.
No, it's definitely a sideways D.
Yeah, well, now I realize what you're... As soon as you said it, I was like, what are you talking about? Ah, yes.
Uh-huh.
Sideways and backwards.
It happens.
It caught me. And I should be, as a veteran of the bald game, I should know to not make that mistake just because it's cloudy. Doesn't mean that the sun isn't out, but I fell for it. For the trap.
It happens. The last time I had that happen to me, the Trailblazers invited me, Joe Simons, and Shane Brendan during the summer to a... I'm just totally blanking on the game. Cornhole. Jesus. It's a Monday. Sorry.
It was like Sacramento?
Yeah, no. A cornhole tournament. It was a big one that they put on. And it was one of those days where the sun was creeping out. It was quite warm, but like the sun would disappear for a little while and then come back. And the more alcohol that was ingested, the less you realized it was there. And I got both the sunglasses and the snapback hat. Egregious lines. I've got a picture on my phone from that day.
It's a rough one.
It's it's the after.
You got to remind yourself though, this is what happens when you fail. You got to remind yourself.
Yeah. No, I think honestly that's probably the last time that I've done that. But also, that was probably also the last time that I got that inebriated with that particular hat on.
See, that's the bummer. I wasn't even inebriated. I was just
You just got caught by the weather.
Yeah, well, it was cloudy. I was out at my cousin's baseball game, so it's like, all right, clouds out, hat on, sun pops out for 20 minutes, take the hat off. Like, I was playing the game. I just forgot that sometimes the sun can get through the clouds. Yeah.
Angles matter.
Yeah. I think I would even have kind of a funky tan line even if I'd had my hat off the whole time because it was always on the one side of the head. It was always on the left side. Like in the right light, you can kind of see even like down below here on the tan line. And it's like, oh, the sun was on your left side and you never thought to move.
Yeah, you get the whole side, kind of a deal.
Right.
It's a little two-face action.
Where the other side, there's no issues at all.
Yeah,
it's perfectly fine and normal.
See, I mean, my face is busted to begin with, but I did this. I was on the snowboard team in high school. And so I was up on the mountain 45, 50 times a year. And I had the raccoon eyes from hell. From like late December until March. Like, that's just how it was. And because there's no getting around that. The only there is. You can wear a mask, and I hate wearing a mask. Like, I just, unless it's so cold that like my face is burning, I do not like wearing like the neoprene masks, any of them. They just always, I do not. I don't like having like things on my face like that.
Yeah, I'm that way with sunglasses. Never wear them unless I absolutely have to.
Really?
Yeah, it's a weird thing.
We are on opposite sides of the spectrum.
Right. Well, you always have sunglasses on, and you're always rocking in with the Oakleys. Like, I have sunglasses. I have 2 in my car right now. I can't tell you the last time I wore either one of them.
Honestly, and it's not because like I have to have them in a sense. Like, I just got seriously. I think I like got beaten into it by submission because I worked so many nights for so long that I think I just got used to the dark. Like, I went full Bane. I was born in the darkness kind of a situation.
You're like a vampire.
I can't, like, when it's bright out, I can't handle it. And it's gotten to the point where, like, even when it's in the wintertime, unless it's night, like, I feel weird driving without my sunglasses on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just, like, you feel like something's, like, when that feeling when you leave your cell phone somewhere.
Yeah.
If I take my sunglasses off while I'm driving and it's not nighttime, I feel weird.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because I'm the opposite. Like, if
that's
I
what I
have
mean. We're literally the
on,
opposite side of the spectrum.
If I have sunglasses on at all, it's weird to me. I don't like it. I feel it, but I'm also like, I don't wear. There's no jewelry on. There's no earrings. There's no watch. Like, I'm like shirt and pants, and that's it.
I'm earrings, necklace, watch.
Yeah, there's
sunglasses, hat. Like, it's all.
There's no accessories here.
There's a lot of jangle here.
The hat is about as far as accessories as I go, and like, I think you linked it to working all those nights. With my sunglasses, it used to mess with my contacts. Like, if I wore sunglasses in a baseball game, when I take the sunglasses off, for whatever reason, my eyes didn't adjust well, and it would really jack up my eyes. And I don't know why, and it probably isn't the sunglasses' fault. But when I was growing up, like, I remember going to Little League games or, JBO tournaments, and you're wearing the sunglasses. As soon as I take them off, it's like, oh, everything's fuzzy now. Everything's like slightly off. I couldn't see baseballs that were thrown to me. I had issues picking up footballs, baseballs hitting the air. And so I just stopped wearing them and was like, well, this is going to hurt, but whatever, like, tough through the pain. And now I never wear them. Never, ever, ever.
That's interesting because I'm the complete opposite. Like, the only ever issue that I deal with light in general is I am vampire-ish. I'm just number one, I will probably in the commercial break turn this light down in here as much as God will allow me to and still have it be on the cameras. With no Dusty here, I can both dim the lights and turn it down to a full refrigerator.
Ooh, this is your ideal world.
Oh, dude, if I could turn if we didn't have the cameras, if we were just on radio, the lights would be off.
See, and that's
100%.
That's crazy to me because I wouldn't be able to get my work done. Like, whenever I come in here for swag, I always turn the lights all as high up as they can go. They're bright. Like, I need to see stuff.
Yeah, no, the night vision is great. I'm good there. Fan text line: Danny Hintz wearing a mask. What kind of serial killer are you? One that look, it doesn't matter.
Well, yeah,
it doesn't matter if they see my face.
If they die, who cares? Like, who are they going to report you to?
He dies. He dies.
Like, guess what? The Medium was a fake show. That's not based on a real person.
I hope not.
Dude, I'll tell you right now.
Hmm.
You want to talk about just robbing people legally? Mediums. I don't believe in any of that garbage. Same with like the Ouija board. Get out of here.
I mean, yes, but also, I mean, there's I don't want to say value because value is too important and actually like there's something to people still holding on hope to like be able to like have those things they can hold on to. Does that make sense?
Yes, people.
Don't get me wrong, it can be very unhealthy though too.
Well, look, people miss their loved ones that have passed on. And a way of dealing with that grief is for them to be like, I can still talk to them. And then you have swindlers that are like, you want to talk to them? Let me help you. And then they just take your money, and it's stupid.
Okay. I can agree with that.
I don't have a lot of like die on this hill. Mediums are pieces of garbage.
You never called Miss Cleo?
What? Cleopatra's in this?
Oh God.
I don't know who Miss Cleo is.
Really?
No, I missed that.
Really?
But I'm also not Ghost Hunter guy. So it's possible that I should know, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not dealing with ghosts.
I could have swore you're 27?
I'm 27.
Miss Cleo was still going then. You never once stayed home from school and had a little Judge Judy into some
Oh, that didn't happen.
Oh, I know, but I mean those are the commercials that it ran that and at like 2 a.m.
Oh, she passed away in 2016.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, you had to have had some Miss Cleo in there.
No, because Judge Judy wasn't really a thing for me either. But I think this isn't a youth thing. This is a what I watched when I was sick thing.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like
it was History Channel for me.
No, Miss Cleo made an appearance there too.
Did she?
Oh yeah.
Oh well, then I just ignored
Go,
her.
Miss Cleo. Yeah, oh yeah. It was. If you want to go scamtastic, that is the tip of the spear.
Whoa.
I think it was like $4.99 a minute.
Yeah, pay per call minute service.
Oh yeah, buddy.
That's brutal.
Oh yeah, this is psychic phone sex.
She had all kinds of aliases. Also, like whenever you see those people appear on TV, at any point do any of them seem like if you just remove yourself for 10 minutes and then you come back and you watch or you read what they're saying, the transcript. I'm sensing that you used to have a father.
Yeah.
Well, of course I had a father. I was born.
The ones that are really good are the ones that like the mentalists, where they use like deception tricks to like push you exactly where you need to go.
Oh, like Oz?
Yeah.
See, I'm all about Oz though.
But then don't be wrong.
That stuff's cool.
It's the same thing.
Yes, but again, there's like a trick. There's a payoff. This person just takes your money.
Sure, but you leave the conversation feeling a certain way.
Okay, get a massage. You'll feel better after that too. Like go buy.
You feel really good after that.
Well, I'm talking about, like you got a muscle spasm in your back. You go fix yourself. That's a great way to do it. Go to the chiropractor. Like there's all value in
there's
those
plenty of people
types
think
of
that chiropractor is all gibberish.
Yeah, I'm kind of one of those people.
Let's see. Look at that.
Well, look, I got ideas. I got thoughts.
Look, man, I do chiropractic work. I do acupuncture. I've tried it. Like when you get to a certain point of pain, you're like, yeah, I'll try.
Well, and here's the thing. Like, do you continue to go and do things that didn't help you?
Fan text line, I can't judge anyone. I ran up $350 on my parents' phone calling wrestling hotlines. My man went full Bobby Boucher.
Wrestling hotlines?
Oh, yeah. Those also used to be a thing.
You could call in and be like...
Call into the show.
Call into the wrestling shows, huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that whole thing from Waterboy, like
that was a real thing.
That's a real thing.
That's hilarious.
Oh yeah, man.
I knew that you could like call for gambling lines and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, get your Stone Cold lead pipe locks here with Sal.
Right, because I know Stu Feiner had one, and like that. There's a guy still,
I think it advertises with us now that has one.
Oh, that's what that guy's advertising?
Yeah,
I hear that all the time, and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, no, that's. I don't even think that's like. That's not even dead. What was that movie that Pacino and God, what's his name? Be a lot cooler if you did. McConaughey. They did a show where like he was a gambling savant kind of deal
Oh,
on one of
really?
those shows.
That's fantastic.
For the money? That might have been it.
Sure, maybe. I was gonna say I that's a little bit past my time.
It's not that old.
See, so then I'm just missing it. So like I didn't know Jerry Springer was a thing until way after the fact. And that's not because Jerry wasn't running while I was
Two for the money.
homesick.
Yeah, 2005.
Yeah, see, those are things that should be in my lexicon. I think it's just when I stayed homesick, my dad turned on the History Channel, and I just got stuck watching why the Spartans were able to beat the Athenians in whatever war in BCE. Like that's where my knowledge comes in.
I'm really glad somebody just texted in. Wow, Miss Cleo, core memory unlocked just when you said it in her voice. Look, it's a island adjacent voice that as soon as you hear it, oh yeah, as soon as you hear it, you're just like your eyebrows go up. Like, I know that voice. I know because it was like the background music for commercials or for like in between shows. Anytime you watch something either during the day, early in the day, or at night.
Yeah,
the cheaper windows.
Oh, okay. See, because like what I remember for those windows is like you stay up late at Nick at Night to watch George Lopez, and then the ads for it are like for some vacuum cleaner, or it's you can get now that's what we call music 892.
Oh yeah, that's the prime marketing hour for that.
Yep,
and that's like that's what where infomercials used to live. Like that's
I think they still do.
Oh, I know, but I mean, like that's where that's all it was like in between the infomercials, you would get the Miss Cleos.
Oh, see, I didn't know that. Like I missed out on this.
We used to have not enough programming.
That blows my mind because I'd make the argument now we have too much.
Well, hell, you go back in time, networks used to go off air at 9:00.
Really? Like you're talking CBS, ABC?
Oh, yeah.
Like those?
Yeah, sign off. Went to static or went to the color bar. Yeah, dog. Yeah.
Can you imagine that now? Can you imagine if like ABC was like, and
was it 9
we're
or
done
10?
at 9?
I can't remember.
I would think it'd be at 11 because didn't they have to do like Johnny Carson or something?
Oh, this is longer ago.
This is before Johnny Carson?
I'm going to Google this.
Well, that makes sense. Getting made fun of George Lopez on Nick at Night. That's a poor memory, man.
It was into the mid 80s.
Okay.
That would sign off at midnight.
Yeah, that blows my mind. It's the same thing with like, hey, the NBA Finals on tape delay. That used to be a thing. That always blows my mind. Like, how did we exist? Can you imagine, like, if right now, not even NBA Finals, they went Heat Cavs tape delay.
Just wild. Yeah, the Dave Chappelle psychic for a hilarious take on Miss Cleo that's a great skit if you haven't seen that one. And then a dark part of our past, also on Comedy Central, the Girls Gone Wild commercials.
I'm aware of those.
Yeah.
I think every dude at a certain age.
That dude's a complete dirtbag, if I'm not mistaken.
I feel like they all are.
Well, I know that, but I mean, like, even among those dudes, I think
really?
he has a case. If I remember right.
I was going to say, my understanding.
Definitely during the commercial break, search Girls Gone Wild on your work computer.
I'll make sure to do that. I have two. Yeah. I can do it on two different computers. I'll make sure to do
Absolutely.
that. Why were you looking this up at work time? It was for a bit.
It was for a bit. And then maybe type in dirty, too.
I don't know that I will.
Yeah. Coward.
Get the Christina Aguilera song.
Oh. Look, there was a period whether it was Team Britney or Team Christina.
Team Christina.
Look, I know which side I'm on.
I'm Team Christina.
I am too.
And I'm coming into this 20 years after the fact.
Look, man. Genie in a Bottle came out, and that was all she wrote.
Team Christina.
That's all she wrote. All right. Well, God, this is a terrible transition. Speaking of that's all she wrote.
Oh.
We had a lot of stuff come out this weekend, and while it doesn't pertain to the hometown team, it does. Damian Lillard suffers a catastrophic injury. What does that mean for him, Giannis, and the Bucks going forward? Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. What is this? Party all the time? Little
Party hard.
party hard. There you go. Yeah, not necessarily the song you want coming into this, but that's the rotator for you. Unfortunately, one of the worst injuries in sports happened last night, and it happened to a Portland legend. Early in the game against the Indiana Pacers, Damian Lillard goes for a loose ball, and you see his calf reverberate, his inability to get to the ball as he falls forward, still makes a hell of a play, throwing it over to the corner for a three. And the second it happened, if you've seen it before, you've seen it 1,000 times. We now have confirmation from Chris Haynes and Shams Charania. Damian Lillard has indeed suffered a torn Achilles. And it sucks, man. It's one of those things where the second it happened, I felt sick. I didn't want to watch the game. I didn't want to talk basketball. I didn't want anything at that moment. My wife was sitting there watching the game with me, and she just kind of like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." Like, it sucks. Like, I didn't know if I wanted to cry or puke. And obviously, I've covered literally every single game of Damian Lillard's career in Portland. I've watched most of his games in Milwaukee. I know him, and I know what he's been through, and I know how hard he fought to get back from the blood clot, how hard he's fought throughout his career, whether it was dealing with a core muscle injury, the calf, the other calf. It's always been something. And, then it's, going through the trade stuff and getting to Milwaukee and being alone and going through personal stuff. It's just been one thing after another, after another, after another. And I just felt sick because, and this isn't pity, because the last thing he would want, and hell, I've talked to him about it already. It's not pity. It's just, he is different in the sense of his mental, physical, and emotional toughness is truly special. But damn, does it have to be tested all the time? Like, is that where we are with this?
It feels like, unfortunately for him, as much as he has meant to Portland and to a lot of Blazer fans, that he's going to go down as one of those really great superstars that you talk about, all these great accolades that they've had, but then they don't get the title. And a lot of it isn't his fault.
Yeah.
Like, it's unfortunate that he couldn't be more like Carmelo, because then you could say, well, yeah, Melo never won a title, but that's because Carmelo had certain parameters that you had to hit. And Carmelo had to be the star, and Carmelo wouldn't come off the bench. And because Carmelo believed in all those things and believed a little bit too much in Carmelo, Carmelo never won a title because he couldn't, be willing to move on to a situation where he wasn't the complete alpha. Where Dame, it isn't his fault that the organization viewed him and CJ higher than they probably should have as a duo. It isn't Dame's fault that by the time he finally gets moved over to Milwaukee, Milwaukee is now old, right? And they're getting beaten down. Like, make no mistake, as good as Damian Lillard is, if he's 100% healthy, I don't know that they win this series.
It was going to be tough because
that Pacers team is good.
They are. I want to make sure we take some time today to talk about the Pacers, because I got a bunch of buddies that cover the Pacers, and they're feeling a certain kind of way right now. And I get it, because they're just being pushed to the side because the Dame news is so monumental. And it is. That's the thing. It's monumental news because Dame's 34 years old. KD and Clay, when they did this, were 30. And look, I'm never going to doubt Dame until he doesn't do something. Like, he came back from the blood clot faster than basically anyone's ever done it, using, top-end medical procedures. He's built different. Mentally, he's just that way. And, I won't share everything, but, this morning he said, when we were talking, said, I'll answer the call again. Once again, mark my words. That was what he said to me this morning, because that's how he's built. He's just a different dude. And selfishly, after it happened, it just kind of went into a fog, and a lot of you guys are texting in right now to the fan text line. I get it. Somebody said I sat down, ate 3 full edibles, not breaking into the proper dosage there. I just don't want to feel it. Look, man, about 5-10 minutes after the injury, I was just on my phone, texting back and forth with guys. I just looked at my wife and I said, I'm going to run to the store. Do you want something? Like, I just wanted to get out of the house. I didn't want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, even with Dame not here, not wearing red and black, I think basically anybody who's a Blazers fan, who's been a Blazers fan, who rooted for Dame was just absolutely gutted yesterday.
Yeah.
Absolutely gutted.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate in more ways than one, because as you look at it, it's not like Clay's injury. Where Clay's injury, man, that sucks. Another guy who fights through everything, plays to the umpth degree, reached his full potential, and then probably then some, right? And he has his, I can't remember if it went Achilles tear, then his knee tear, or knee tear, then Achilles. No. But you feel awful for him, but you don't have that sinking feeling because he's going to come back. You know that Clay is going to fight and work his way back because of when the injury happened.
And they got the titles. He climbed the mountain.
Right. And for Dame, the biggest issue that he's fighting as well with the injury is not just the injury and how we saw it. Kobe is a completely different player from where he was before the injury
pre and post Achilles,
and to where he is post Achilles.
The difference being is you can see Achilles treatment has gotten drastically better.
Right, because it's happening more and more often. But the thing for Dame is he was always going to fight a really difficult battle with Father Time because he is undersized, because he has to rely on smarts, on superior talent, and burst, right? And that is going to be gone from him now. And even if he does answer the call, I immediately thought of B. Roy. Because Brandon Roy, for me, like growing up, that's the guy who got me into Trailblazer basketball. I loved Brandon Roy.
And Brandon went out on his shield in that game against Dallas.
That's one of my favorite all-time memories as a Blazer fan, is Brandon Roy just being a dog one more time. But the problem is that when I was that age, I was young. And Brandon Roy had that game, and I come back from it going, man, Brandon Roy's back. Like, he is going to be awesome again all the time. Yeah. And he never was that guy again.
That was it.
Right.
I mean, he knew it.
You're going to have moments, right? Let's say Dame clearly intends to come back. He comes back. Mm-hmm. You're going to have moments, best case scenario. Well, it's never going to be the same.
Now, what does this mean for Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and the Milwaukee Bucks? We'll dive that next. But here's Big Well Bets of the SportsCenter Update.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a SportsCenter update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, multiple NBA insiders are now reporting that Bucks star Damian Lillard officially tore his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Pacers-Bucks series. This will officially end his season this year and could cause him to miss most of, if not all, of next season. Over in the MLB, your Mariners are off today. They're fresh off a series victory over the Marlins at home. Seattle has won 6 straight series in a row. They are now getting ready for a short 2-game series against the Angels. That's going to start tomorrow in Seattle. A historic draft for the Oregon Ducks. They had a program record of 10 players get selected in the 2025 draft through multiple different rounds. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back, the 11th annual Fan
after Damian Lillard suffered what would end up becoming an Achilles tear early in the game against the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers would go on to win 129-103 and take a 3-1 series lead. In spite of Giannis Antetokounmpo, another insane effort. I mean, he has been unbelievable. 28 points, 15 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, he's been incredible. I mean, he's been absolutely dominant. And if you watch the game, I think I flipped it back on with probably 5 minutes to go in the game. And they pan to Giannis sitting on the bench, just kind of staring out into nowhere. Because the realization is, look, it is what it is. Dame's out for likely a year because he suffered this Achilles injury in late April. Even if you go, the fastest kind of comeback we've seen from this is 9 months. That's the fastest we've seen.
Didn't Akers, correct me if I'm wrong, now it's apples to oranges, different sports. Cam Akers, I believe, did it in 4 or 5 months in
His
football.
was not a full tear, if I remember correctly.
It's a partial.
I believe his was a partial tear where like you can do a surgical procedure that's not nearly as invasive. And now that we'll find out what's going to come out of the MRI, like how, like it is a tear, a torn, like we saw the calf ripple. That's the thing. I'm like, that's probably a rupture.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the safe timeline here is 9 months as far as the quickest you can go. And here's the thing. It's not the recovery process as far as just being able to do stuff. It's trust and then being able to build it back up, which everybody I've ever talked to in the NBA who has had a Achilles injury has said the same thing. And that is it takes about 18 months to fully come back from. Year and a half.
Which is going to put him at 37, 38.
36, yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
36 and a half years old.
And I think it's fair. Like, you've always heard rumors about Giannis. And, I mean, the whole reason that they made the trade for Dame was because Giannis said,
title window.
I need someone better than what we have right now to be my 2. Didn't that 1,000-yard stare he had there kind of look like,
oh, it's done.
I'm moving.
That's what it was.
He will be.
That was like, I hate saying this in the moment, but like 2 things in that game, guys had realizations.
He gone.
When Dame hit the floor, did you see the look on his face?
I didn't see that one. I saw the aftermath.
He just bites his lip. Not pain, he knew. He knew immediately what it was. Because this is the guy who saw it happen in his career with Wes Matthews and again with Rodney Hood.
Right. Well, yeah, and they he wasn't there for KD, but it happened very quickly.
Yeah, but he knew what it was immediately. The realization hit him of like, oh bleep, that just happened. You can see the look on his face of like, are you kidding me? And I think that same thing happened to Giannis because here's the timeline of events that is going around the NBA right now. Okay. The Bucks just re-signed their general manager, John Horst. He was on an expiring deal. You know why you re-sign him? Because you want the guy in that chair to have the power and the protection to make a deal or to convince Giannis to stay. Because he's not a short timer and he has to have that backing behind him. And everybody that I talked to when that deal came out was like, yep, here we go. Because if you're going to sit there, here's what's probably going to happen. Giannis looks at this and goes, before Dame goes down, maybe I can get talked back into it. Maybe. But it's going to have to, something magical would have to happen.
Right.
Somebody be like, I have to go play there for whatever reason, right?
Or they were going to have to go on an improbable run.
And even then, the second Dame goes down, Giannis, I said it, I want to say last week, that it was probably 50-50. It's probably 80-20 now.
Yeah.
It's probably 80-20 now. Like, I'd be, honestly, I think at this point, I'd be shocked if he stayed.
Well, and the interesting thing about Giannis, like, he will be the first international player to really demand out. Like, this hasn't happened before. Yeah. I wonder, because of the victories and the title, will he be met with as much backlash as
Yes.
some of these other players?
Dame had as much capital as anyone with a fan base and a franchise, and there were still detractors here. That's the thing. It's like if you're talking about those guys, Dame, Giannis, hell, you could maybe even put Luka in that. And he didn't demand one.
I was going to say, Luka's, I think, is completely different because it blindsided everyone.
Yeah.
Even in the best case scenario where he might have known like a week or two in advance, he still got blindsided.
Yes. And the fan base, I think, in general, will thank him for his time, for everything they did for them, for getting them a title, for bringing them back to relevancy, all those things. Because he was an unknown, small market guy, the early, immigrant rags to riches.
He used to walk to the games.
Yeah. I mean, guy picked him up literally as he was walking to the arena in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mentioned this last week. He's not that guy anymore.
Nope.
He's an international superstar.
Mm-hmm.
He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's probably a top 20 player in the history of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that I've heard on the intel side is that he wants to go to a big market and get the superstar treatment that doesn't come with being in a small market.
Is Houston big enough for him? Because
yes,
not to do this, it seems like that's the only spot he can go. That's going to give up enough capital to make it worth it for the Bucks.
That's where you hit the nail on the head. That's why you re-sign your general manager, and that's why you re-sign your general manager who has a history with your franchise of making big moves, whether it's for Drew or for Dame.
Right.
You want somebody who's navigated this before. Now, this is going to be entirely different. This is going to be the biggest transaction of John Horst's career, much like trading Damian Lillard will very likely be the biggest transaction that Joe Cronin ever makes. And I'm not saying that as a negative.
Mm-hmm.
You're trading a franchise icon.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen. Most guys don't ever do that.
Probably the most important player in your franchise history?
Second.
You go Oscar?
No.
You're going Kareem?
Yes.
Okay. That's fair. I think that's fair. But yeah, one of the two.
And from what I've been told, Giannis wants to stay in the East and go to one of the New York teams. And Brooklyn has been the team. I don't think they have the capital to get it done. The Knicks are another team that I've heard. I don't think the Bucks are looking at Karl Anthony Towns and either Mikal Bridges or OG Anunoby as enough of a package. But here's where the problem lies if you're the Milwaukee Bucks. The New Orleans Pelicans and the Portland Trailblazers control your future.
Yeah, which is why you need people that can win right now for you.
Or you structure a deal, whether it's Houston, that sends assets to either Portland or New Orleans to get your picks back.
Yeah.
This is why when Joe Cronin makes that deal and you bet on time running out in Milwaukee, why it was a pretty damn good bet.
Yeah. It looks like one of the smarter trades from the team losing the superstar ever, right? In the return that you're going to get. The other thing too with it is I think you can make the argument that it was essentially a 3-team trade, right? Because Portland trades Dame to Milwaukee, you get Drew Holiday back, you trade Drew Holiday to Boston. The irony is this might be the first time maybe not the first time, but one of the few times the team that got the superstar that had demanded out or asked to be out lost while the other two teams won because Drew Holiday
was the final piece to a title team.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
If you go through the history of these transactions, the team trading for the superstar almost always wins. Almost always wins. Just run through the list of them.
Right.
That's just the way that it goes, unfortunately, But for the Bucks now, it's scary hours because again, Houston to me is the team. Because if I'm Milwaukee, I don't want to trade Giannis in conference.
Nope.
It's the last thing that I want. I don't want to see him 3 or 4 times a year. Right. Hell no. No.
Right.
If I'm Giannis, you know where I don't want to go? The West.
You got to deal with the gauntlet that is because, like, you even look right now, 2 of those teams within 4 years are going to be out of it. Well, maybe not even 2 because of what Luka can do for LA. Like, Golden State won't be Golden State, but guess what? OKC's only going to get better, and Houston's only going to get better.
And that's if
and Minnesota.
well, we'll see what happens there. Just Minnesota's history, I'm a little leery of.
Fair.
But with Houston to me is the one team that has the assets, the money, and a winning situation where they want him. Like you've heard like Kevin Durant to Houston. I don't buy Durant to Houston one bit. It's Booker or Giannis.
Right. Well, because it fits on the timeline, but more importantly, if you've watched any of the series, if Houston had anyone that could score,
Yes,
anyone at all,
yes,
they'd be up 2-1 right now. They had no one that could score.
And basically,
in that last game.
what do they get to keep if they trade for Giannis? Like, what do you prioritize? Like, you try to keep Amen and Şengün, or Amen and Jabari, like, because there's so many different ways
Right.
that could go. I mean, if you're the Bucks, do you demand that Amen Thompson is in a deal? You know, it's a non-starter without him. Like that. Those are the kind of things that kind of come out of this. And it's, a bunch of people have asked us on the fan text line, you know, whether or not Dame is going to come back to Portland. I don't think he's going to come back on this contract. I think when his contract runs out, then you would see Dame come back for a year and kind of have his victory lap tour.
It's $107 million for the next 2 years.
I think 113 in total. But,
113 for the next 2 years.
Look, I mean, I've said it, and I'm pretty certain it's been reported. Dame has flat out told me that he wants to come back when it's all said and done. Now, how does that change after this injury and kind of what comes out of it? I don't know. It's kind of a weird place to be in, but it sucks that we're going to do this with another team.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh boy. All right. Coming up next, we're going to keep it in the NBA, and when we go into hour number 2, we're going to dive heavily in the NFL draft, and yeah, we're going to talk about that stupid slide with Shedeur Sanders and everything that came out of that. But Adam Silver, at another chance to have another press conference, took another opportunity to crap on the programming around his league, and oh my God, if we could only figure out who was responsible for this. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. talking about how the discussion around the game of basketball, it's always, to be blunt, pissed me off. Most of the coverage around it, whether it's Kendrick Perkins or Stephen A. Smith or somebody else just spouting off something that doesn't really have any bearing on the game or anything else, or talking about how something impacts LeBron's legacy. It's the four-letter network just not doing what they should be doing. And Adam Silver stepped up and had something to say about how the game is covered.
You know, it's interesting. Your companies enjoy basketball, and I mean, I respect the job the media does, and it's not a suggestion that people shouldn't ask tough questions or be critical or talk about things they don't like about the game. But I would say, and it goes exactly to your production company, Enjoy Basketball, that sometimes I think they don't spend enough time talking about why people love this game. And, you know, recently I was at a meeting with Mike Krzyzewski, former coach at Duke, and he condensed it with this headline. He said we should educate people about the game and celebrate the game. Educate and celebrate. And I feel, I wish there was more of that.
There could be more of it on your own freaking network, Adam. You fired the guys who ended up moving over to The Athletic, and Skeets and Taz and everybody else who now the No Dunks crew, who all they did was celebrate your game. They were on NBA TV for 6 years. You fired them. What are we doing? You had a literal platform to put these guys on. They did. They were beloved, and then you cut them. Like, what the hell? Instead, you've spent under this last rights deal with ABC and ESPN pumping nothing but negativity. You can't dictate terms to them, but you sure as hell can be like, hey, guys, I've seen how you cover the NFL. Can you cover us like that?
It definitely feels like when you watch an NBA halftime show or a pregame show, there is very clearly a different sound and a different way of talking about the league. Can you imagine if, let's say, the NFL grabbed Julian Edelman while he's still playing with the Patriots, and during the Pro Bowl had him just dump on the league, specifically the young players on the league before they went into the Pro Bowl? Could you imagine that happening? No, that would never happen. Yet the NBA let Draymond Green do it.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense. Because you know why Draymond Green's doing it?
Because he can. No one stops him.
Not just that. It's being reinforced. That's the problem. It's being. I'm not saying you can't talk about the game negatively. Hell, I do. Good Lord. Not this past season, the season before when the Blazers were egregiously tanking, I talked about how miserable it was. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't talk about the love of the game. We didn't talk about games night in, night out throughout the season. Yeah, I hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's okay to talk about the negatives of the game, but at some point in time, like, it's why I love somebody like Tim Legler or Scott Van Pelt, like, they just do a better job.
Well, they clearly love the game, and they clearly want to help it grow, where I feel like the NBA, it turns into a measuring contest.
Yes.
My era was better than your era. And the thing that's stupid about the whole thing is the older guys will say the people that are older than them, well, they were playing in a different era. There's only 8 teams. It's plumbers. It's, handymen that were playing basketball. But then when they talk about the younger generation, it's always, well, they're soft. They couldn't play in our era because we'd beat them up and we'd be more physical. And it's evolution, man. Everything gets better as it ages out because you know how to handle things more appropriately. LeBron James would score 1,000 points, not because LeBron James is a better athlete necessarily than everybody, but because LeBron James would take better care of himself than everybody did, right?
Yeah.
Like, it isn't that the young crew is a better athletic group, or it's that the young crew has evolved necessarily in skill on the court because of God-given talent. It's they know how to take care of their body better. They do better. They have better nutrition. They have better training programs. I mean, Michael Jordan took a step forward because he started lifting weights. Everybody lifts weights now. You know what I mean? Like, people run in the off season. They take care of their body. They still have fun, but people aren't smoking cigarettes at halftime.
Well,
Probably.
for the most part.
There might be one or two that Then might.
There's still a few Balkan boys who I know rip some heaters every now and then.
Got to do what you got to do.
Look, it is what it is. But this every part of this. This is what we've talked about with Adam Silver. He gets up there and he talks about how his product isn't taken care of a certain way. Do something about it. You have the capacity to do it. You're going into a new TV deal. You're going into a new broadcast and rights deal with NBC and Amazon. How about you have some input? How about you prioritize how your game is talked about? How about you invest in what your product is?
Right.
You can control some of it. You can't dictate terms, but you sure as hell can talk about what you want to be talked about.
You can also promote people that are going to talk about you in the way that you'd like them to talk about you. Like, think about it. In the NFL, you have the lovable crazy guy, Gronk.
Yeah.
But you know what he never does? He never dumps on anybody.
No.
He never knocks anyone down to make himself look better. I mean, even
the NFL does a great job of protecting the shield.
Even the NBA Tonight crew or the TNT show, right? As much as we love them, and they are the best post-game type of show for
entertainment
any sport.
show. Yes.
Right. They're the best at it. They still knock on each other. They still knock players down. Well, that guy wouldn't be successful in my era, right? Shaq does it. Charles does it. Even Kenny does it, right? Even at your peak, you still have people that are knocking others down. And for the NFL, it's probably the Fox crew that is probably the top, at least right now.
Yeah.
When you're talking about post-game, pre-game, entertainment type shows. You know what they never do? And they're not as good of a product? They never knock on guys.
No.
Or if they do, it isn't unfair.
It's careful.
It's not unfair, though, right? It's you messed up on this play. You need to be better. Not you messed up on this play. I would never mess up on that play because I'm better than you.
And not just that. It's like it's always in the NBA. It always comes back to legacy. And this texter right now on the broadcast, Richard Jefferson said he does not miss the regular season, but does the playoffs. This really annoyed me because the whole narrative of the regular season doesn't matter. RJ basically just told the National Alliance they are correct in assuming the regular season doesn't matter. It's like, yeah. You don't hear that. Yes, it's not apples to apples because you're talking about 18 or, what will be 18 versus 82. Scarcity is what makes the NFL great. But it's like, at some point in time, the game has to matter. The game has to matter. And the way it's talked about, it's just, I hate having to do this over and over and over again because it feels like I'm just screaming into the void. But as somebody who literally does this for a living, it drives me nuts. Because and it's something I always say that we want to talk about the stuff that matters, the game. And again, yes, we talked about Dame and Giannis and the Bucks and the big storylines that come out of that. We're going to talk about the Pacers today because the game matters.
Right.
And as much as we're not a Pacers audience or anything like that, I want to give them their due. I want to talk about it.
They're sneaky awesome.
Yes.
They are a fun
and
watch.
they should be talked about.
Yes.
That's the whole thing. With that said, let's pivot out of this and go straight into the the NFL draft because we do have a lot to come out of the NFL draft, and yes, the biggest storyline coming out of it. Shedeur Sanders is not the second, the third, the fourth, or even the fifth quarterback taken. Boy, oh boy, he wasn't even the first quarterback taken by the team that drafted him. Let's dive into everything that happened around the NFL draft, including Shedeur Sanders' slide and the prank phone calls and everything else that comes with that. We'll do that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Fine.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, you got a couple playoff games in the NBA today. First in the East, the Heat are hosting the Cavs. Cavs looking to finish off Miami. They're up 3-0 in this series. Want to get the sweep going there. They'd be the only team in the East with a sweep. Cleveland is favored in that one by 8.5. Tip-off for that game at 4:30. At 7, the Rockets are looking to even up the series at 2 games apiece tonight in Game 4 of their series against the Warriors. Jimmy Butler, he's still listed as questionable. He missed all of Game 3 and most of Game 2 after he suffered a pelvis injury. Right now, the Warriors are favored by 3.5 at home. Unfortunate news out of Milwaukee. Multiple NBA insiders are now reporting that Bucks star Damian Lillard has officially torn his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Bucks-Pacers series. That is going to officially end his year this year. Could cause him to miss most of, if not all of, next season. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
The home of primetime.
Number 2 here on Danny Dusty on a Monday afternoon, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080am the fan or twitch.tv/1080am the fan. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you for hanging out with us on this wonderful, wonderful Monday. I know what day of the week it is because it's Monday. I don't have to look at my phone on Mondays most of the time.
You have to look at your phone on the other days?
Pretty much, yeah. Usually when we come in from the break, I have to grab my phone and click, okay, that's the day of the week.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it all blends together for me.
Well, I mean, it blends together for me too, but I usually am pretty good about the day.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
And if I'm bad, I'm a day off.
Yeah, no,
I might be like, oh, it's Friday, it's Thursday.
yeah, no,
Or
I live in the ceaseless void. Days that end in Y. They all blend together. That's Will Ortner. He's in for Jeff Ross. Dusty is out because I'm assuming he had a good time down in the huge Oregon spring game and some Ducks baseball. Doing his thing as that goes, but I think he'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully Russ will be too. If not, we'll be here again. But with that said, let's get into the NFL draft because boy, there are a lot of storylines. And as much as I don't want to talk about it, it is the number one storyline coming out of the NFL draft. Shedeur Sanders falling all the way down in what I don't even think it's close. The biggest slide in NFL history.
Yeah. Well, at least according to mock drafts, I think that you are going to see, and maybe you won't just because people are narcissistic, especially the mock draft people. Good Lord, Mel Kiper. I think you are going to see kind of a similar media conversation like you did after the 2016 election. Like, think about not even in anything political, right?
Yeah, no, the whole idea of like how
shocked,
sure everybody
yes,
was. And
everyone was shocked at the outcome.
Even though the polls all indicated what was going to happen.
I think you're going to see the same thing here. Where
I mean, we're already getting it from basically every NFL team. I mean,
right.
Daboll was pressed on it.
And he
said
it
after the first press conference, and he was like, "Oh, our evaluation is our evaluation." He played it close to the vest, but if you read between the lines, he wasn't on our board.
Right. Well, it seems again, like in the Daboll situation, he likes big, tall, strong quarterbacks. That's not Shedeur.
No, and we talked about
That's Jackson Dart.
Yeah, and we talked about this after the day one on the draft of like them going up and getting Jackson Dart. Told you that with Joe Shane and Brian Daboll's, jobs in the balance, who they were willing to hitch their wagon to.
Right.
And for all of they didn't draft him because he's loud and black and who his dad was. Please pull your head out of your ass. This is the NFL where people who have literally killed people have gotten other opportunities.
There's a person in that draft that was a first-round talent as an edge rusher that fell to the second round, I believe.
Mike Green. Marshall.
And it's because of what is surrounding him in his personal life.
And it was like, well, they colluded against him. This is the NFL. And they're not above collusion, but if they think a dude is going to help them win, they're just going to do it.
Right. Well,
if the talent meets a certain level, they're just going to do it.
100%. And I think McShay said it best. It's very clear that while some talent evaluators or mock draft experts, Mel Kiper, viewed Shedeur Sanders as a number 1 or number 2 QB in this draft, that NFL teams did not. And they viewed him as a second or a third round guy. Second and third round guys are not NFL starters, right? At least not right away.
No,
they might earn it, but not right away.
Or you're a team like Will Levis, where you're going to give a guy a chance,
right?
See what he does.
You're in QB purgatory. Like, if Cleveland hadn't taken Shedeur and they just took Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel got a start or two this year, it wouldn't shock me because that would mean that Joe Flacco looked horrific and Kenny Pickett looked horrific. But guess what? Dylan Gabriel wouldn't get a start until the very, very end. Dylan Gabriel was not brought into Cleveland to be a starter. But what Dylan Gabriel gets that Shedeur Sanders either doesn't get or didn't think he had to get, but might now have to think about, is Dylan Gabriel can be a backup because he can be quiet, right? He isn't going to be taking press conferences. And this isn't me saying that Shedeur Sanders needs to be quiet because Shedeur Sanders is his own person. He can do
Cam
whatever
Ward
he
isn't
wants.
Quiet. That's my whole point. Is a very loud, quote unquote, brash. I hate using that word, but he's not.
There's a circus with Shedeur.
Yes. But I mean, Cam, everyone's like, oh, it's a cultural thing. Like, Cam Ward is out of pocket, does all kinds of, he is all about swag and chains and hip hop culture and everything, all the things that white America, rejects and everything that comes along with that. So is Travis Hunter. And he went number 2.
The easiest comp for me is Cam Newton. Cam Newton, there's always something going around with Cam Newton.
But the talent was overwhelming.
Right. And when it wasn't, Cam Newton wasn't a backup. Jay Cutler wasn't a backup. But you know who is pretty quiet, who was a starter and then became more after on? Andy Dalton. These guys exist. Nick Foles was a career backup forever. Chase Daniels had one hell of an NBA or NFL career.
Ooh, NBA career.
Probably not. I don't think he's very athletic. But he had a hell of an NFL career because he could be the backup quarterback. He could be the constant professional and show up.
Look at Deshaun Watson.
And we're not saying that Shedeur can't do that, but with Shedeur, there has always been a circus.
Well,
right?
Not only that, the whole idea of we're going to dictate terms. And it was it was okay when the Mannings did it. Yeah, because he was good enough. And for everybody who's under the age of 30 who thinks that wasn't a circus, you're insane.
Yeah.
They got crushed for it.
Dion did this.
Yes.
It sounds to me like Shedeur Sanders looked at certain teams and said, hey, I'm going to
dictate terms.
I'm going to go into this interview and treat it the way it should be. And he looked at other spots and was like, hey, I'm not going to treat it the way it should be because I'm better than you. And unfortunately for him, he didn't have that skill set. You know who did the same thing this draft? Abdul Carter. But you know why Abdul Carter did it? Because Abdul Carter knew that he wasn't going to.
The farthest he was going to go was 3.
Worst case scenario for Abdul Carter, if someone did believe in Jackson Dart or believe in Shedeur Sanders as much as people might have been pointing you to believe a couple months ago, he goes 4th to New England. He only had to interview with 4 teams. And Shedeur Sanders and Dion clearly viewed him in that same category. And it doesn't sound like they should have.
They did not have the right people around. If you want any indicator of just how wrong Dion was about everything. Did you see Shedeur and Shiloh doing their live stream?
I saw Shiloh fired him.
Shiloh's representation was not official. It was Dion who was representing him. He's like, yeah, I think we may have gotten some bad advice. I think I might have to hire an agent. The literal next day he signed with Drew Rosenhaus, RSR Sports.
Yeah. Well, Dion.
If that doesn't tell you everything.
Dion's coaching Colorado, man. Coach Colorado. If you want to be the representation for your sons, dude, that's awesome. Be the representation for your sons. Right now, you have too many irons in the fire. Like, you can't be the coach of Colorado and be the best agent possible for your kids. You're going to miss out somewhere in the middle, and probably you're going to miss out on both ends, right?
This was a situation of having too many yes men in the room. And I wonder, and we said this during the process, Dion was doing an incredible job of keeping Shador in the light. And I think part of that was so that they could do this now. If he did fall. And now I don't think they expected him to fall to the 5th round.
I don't think anyone expected him to fall into the 5th round.
No. And for everybody's like, well, what about Tyler Shuck and Dylan Gabriel? And I'm like, I'm going to go back to my original point. They did not value Shador Sanders' production as good as those guys, and it came with the baggage.
I was going to say, because like they might view Shador as a better QB prospect than those guys. Because to be honest with you, there are people who went ahead of Shador that I went, Shador's a better quarterback than them. But it's where they were.
You can say it. It's Dylan and Shuck. You can make the conversation for both of them.
I've never got the Shuck stuff.
Oh, people see big guy, big arm, and that's
big guy, big arm, and they only go, well, he's had limited injury issues, and that's what's limited him. It's like, dude, watch him against the blitz.
Also, look at his injury history. It's a mile long.
I mean, he's the last player in the 90s, born in the 90s, to get drafted, right? Like that's his whole thing. But when you look at Shador, where he was getting taken he was going to be viewed as a backup who potentially, based on injuries or other factors,
maybe he flashes,
he might get a spot start or two and turn into something. Gardner Minshew was this,
or he's Brock Osweiler.
Yes, or he turns into nothing. And they looked at Shador and they said, that's a lot of circus that I'm going to have to deal with for someone who's going to be my 2 or my 3 QB going into the year. And I don't want to deal with that. And then he paid a price for how he apparently seemed to treat some of the organizations. I'd make the argument it might be an unfair price. He's not a 5th round talent, but he also wasn't a 1st round talent. And so it's meeting somewhere in the middle.
Well, unfortunately, something that didn't have anything to do with Shador Sanders ended up causing quite the kerfuffle over the weekend, as not only Shador Sanders, but Tyler Warren and a host of others have been getting hit with the fake prank call draft deal. And, well, one of them was stupid enough to record it and post it, and it's pretty easy to trace back where it went to. But we'll dive into that next and how just dumb all of it is. Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
Hello.
Kids are dumb. That's what I'm going with here. Kids are dumb. And it's not a victimless thing or okay or dismissing it. I'm not saying that at all. I do think there's a bit of an overreaction to this. But Shedeur Sanders is also not like everybody's talking about. I can't believe they would do this to Shedeur. Da, da, da. Okay. This has been happening for years. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Kevin Love's phone number was leaked when he was at UCLA, and he was getting his phone blown up. If I remember right, J.J. Redick's phone number was leaked when he was in college at Duke, and numerous calls and texts were placed ahead of games. It's not the first time this has happened.
It's happened. I wonder if it happened a lot more back in the day before caller ID happened, because now, like, you know, I get calls all the time. I don't answer half of the people that call me because, well, one, I can see who's calling. It's like, I can take that later. I can call that person back later. Or more importantly, who's calling me? I don't have your number in here and I'm not expecting a call. I'm not going to take that call.
Yeah, it's very strange.
Right.
Again, I'm not excusing it. These kids are dumb that are doing it. But it does kind of speak to some security protocols. And there's something, for those that don't know, multiple players, Shedeur Sanders, Mason Graham, Tyler Warren, just in this draft alone, received prank calls. And a lot of these guys have burners. They are not using their actual cell phones for this phone call.
Shedeur literally bought
a burner,
that phone for that day, specifically.
No. And that's the thing. It's a lot of these guys do, so that that this doesn't happen. That way, that, you know, you don't have people like you. A lot of times you see guys during the NFL draft when they go up on this, when, you know, they're doing it at home, they have two phones. A lot of those times, it's a burner. You get a phone for that, so you know, and only the teams have that. Amy Trask, who was one of, if I remember correctly, is the first female president of an NFL team with the Raiders. She hopped on and she said that she was part of the security committee that was taking a look at this, and this is what she had to say.
You know, there's a saying, it's Hanlon's razor, and Hanlon's razor says, never attribute to mendacity that which can be explained by incompetence. So I would have a conversation with him and I would try to find out, did you just make a really big mistake? And by the way, it was a big one if it was a mistake. Or did you do this, you know, with any intention? And I believe it was simply a mistake, and I would let that guide how I would proceed. The NFL Security Committee and the NFL are going to take steps to correct this. I know that from personal experience. They're not going to simply brush this under the rug. The league, the Security Committee, the league as a whole, the league office is going to do whatever possible to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Look, if you're going to have these burners and you're going to have them out there, the only people that should have these phone numbers are the head coach and GM. You can't disseminate this information any further than that, because that's the whole point of this, is so that those people can make those phone calls. That's the only reason that number exists for that day. The defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator, they don't need it. They can have it afterwards. They can have that for that particular purpose. They can have that number afterwards. But if the guy is getting a draft day phone, tighten it up.
Well, right. So there's the whole database that gets sent out, and all the NFL teams have it. And I could see why a DC or an OC might need it as well, just because usually they're in the conversation with the player, right? It's usually, hey, here's the GM, then here's the head coach, then here, if you're an offensive player, here's the OC. Or if you're a high enough pick, sometimes it's owner, OC, and flip it if it's a defensive player. But I also think that this has to be like the apology came from Jack Ulbrich, right? It's Ulbrich's son.
His dad is the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he's the DC at Atlanta. He was the interim Jeff Ulbrich. He was the interim head coach in New York last year for the Jets. There's a conversation with him of how can you leave your email open to where your kid could get to this? And then there is going to be a conversation with his kid. And look, he's 19 years old. I don't think that this should keep him from getting a job. No. I don't think that, this should be something that he gets blasted about for the rest of his life. It's a simple mistake. I don't think it's a cool thing to do.
No, it's a jerk move.
As far as mistakes go for a 19-year-old, Could be a lot worse.
Look, man, the list of things that I may or may not have done, let me preface it that way, were certainly grander than this.
Right.
And the whole idea of yeah, he was clout chasing. He was, because he's a dumb kid brought up in the social media era.
Prank calls happen all the time, too.
Man,
you prank
bro,
called.
I mean,
I prank called.
Everybody's
prank called.
When we were younger, especially, again, this is the old here, right?
Yeah.
You're 27, I'm 40.
I prank called.
We did it, and there was no, we were doing it before Star 6ix9ine existed.
Star 6-7. You're thinking of a different thing.
No, Star 6ix9ine.
Star 6-7.
No, I know which ones.
Okay.
I know which ones they are. Star 6-7, Star 6-9. Like, Star 6-9 was the first thing that we had. Then we had Star 6-7.
Gotcha.
Long before any of that stuff.
Right.
You could call somebody and prank call religiously. Radio shows used to do this all the time. Now, some of them were pre-planned bits, but
right.
the
John
stuff.
Cena.
Well, even back in the day, though, a lot of those were real, and laws were made about them afterwards. No, you can't actually do this. You have to do X, Y, and Z agreed upon. Da da da. It's not the worst thing, but also stop doing this, and then also stop posting it.
Stop putting your face in the video.
My God. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to post it anonymously under a fake TikTok account?
Well, you do the old John Cena. Because the only reason that he got caught, he didn't post it. He's in the video. Jax is. That's how they figured it out. And he's not even the one who's making the call. He's just next to the kid who's making the call, and they went bing, bing, bing.
Well, and also the Ole Miss sweatshirt.
Right. And I will say, well, he's a D3 running back somewhere else. I don't actually think he's at Ole Miss. It's his buddies who are at Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But
they're saying they were able to trace back who it was very quickly, even if he wasn't there. It wouldn't be that hard to figure out.
But again, everyone went through.
Also, do a better Mickey Loomis impersonation.
Right.
Hey, this is Mickey Loomis.
Everyone went through this, though. Everyone got caught doing something like this. Everyone TP'd the wrong house or
egged the wrong house.
Possibly.
Or
allegedly.
May have taken
or forked the wrong house. Everybody
or taken a car off their tires and left it on blocks.
Had the wrong ding-dong ditch. Every kid had this. Unfortunately for him, he had it on a national scale. I actually think that Shedeur handled it pretty well.
Of all the things that Shedeur handled this weekend,
I thought he handled it great.
He handled this about as great as possible. Mason Graham, his phone number was put on TikTok.
Was it really?
Oh, yeah. So he had to basically turn his phone off.
I was going to say, I never saw his. I heard that Warren got a prank call as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that sucks a little bit. But again, for those two guys, especially Mason Graham, you got your name called pretty quickly. Even Tyler Warren, you got your name called pretty quickly. I feel a little bit worse for Shedeur because not only did they hit him with
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, he ended up having to wait 2 more days. It just was a part of the onslaught against him.
Mm-hmm.
He had probably the worst 2 days on the internet from anyone that didn't do anything criminal in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And he got slammed with it. And to come through this with a little bit of humility like he had with these kids and a little bit of empathy and went, hey, man, they're dumb kids. They made a mistake. It happens. I do have some appreciation for that.
I do too.
Because I would not have that.
I'd be
I'd be upset.
Look, I mean, for those that didn't see it, Shedeur had a stage set up wherever he was with Legendary. Did you know that they trademarked the money-themed Legendary sign?
I didn't know they trademarked it. I knew that they had it. It sounds like they got blindsided more than almost anybody. It's like them and Mel Kiper got blindsided.
We'll talk about Mel a little bit later in the show because, boy, was that something.
He needs a wellness check.
Holy. I mean, the entire NFL community just was like, bro, are you okay?
When Reese Davis
turns
around.
Calm down.
When Reese Davis has to be the adult in the room.
Yeah. It's like, all right, dog, I need you to chill a little bit here.
Whoa.
All right, coming up next, though, it's time to pivot to our worst day on the web. And look, speaking of stupid things you can do electronically, how about a vindictive worker who almost gets people killed? Yikes, dog. Here's Big Will Betts of the Sports Center Update.
Now, from the the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Sports Center is brought to you by Reynolds Defense Firm. If you've been arrested for a DUI, you need a team of attorneys that you can put your trust into. Call Reynolds Defense Firm today online at reynoldsdefensefirm.com. First on The Fan, unfortunate news coming out of Milwaukee. It has been reported that Bucks star Damian Lillard has officially tore his left Achilles. He is going to be done for this season, and because of the timing of when this Achilles tear happened, he could miss most of, if not all, of next season. 2 games in the NBA playoffs going on today. You've got the Heat. They're trying to stave off elimination against the Cavs at home. Cleveland's up 3-0 in that one. Cleveland is also favored tonight by 8.5. Tip-off's going to be at 4:30. At 7, you've got the Warriors trying to go into a commanding 3-1 lead over the Rockets. Jimmy Butler still questionable for Game 4. He missed all of Game 3, most of Game 2, dealing with a pelvis injury there. Warriors are favored by 3.5 at home. A historic draft for the Oregon Ducks. They had a program record of 10 total players selected in the 2025 draft. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work, insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom, call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest.
Sometime about a year ago, we documented the Canadian national who had his car stolen, and he had like a sophisticated tracking system on it, like a upgraded low jack, and was able to follow it all the way to Africa and chase it down and try. It took him forever to get it back, but after about 2 years, he's able to get it back. This one is a little bit like that. A 40-year-old man in England had his car stolen. It was a Honda Civic Type R, the right-hand drive version. A man named Ewan Valentine. He called it his midlife crisis car. He was 36 years old. And
That's not midlife.
I mean, in England it is probably.
I'm not 10 years away from midlife.
You're getting there.
No.
It's going to creep up on you. You're going to be all of a sudden, you're like, holy crap.
Oh, no, I'm old. I've been up since 5:30, and I didn't set an alarm to be up at 5:30.
That sounds gross.
Dude, when you get up at 4:30 most days, waking up at 5:30 is a sleep-in, unfortunately.
Why do you get up at 4:30?
Got to go to the gym, man.
Why at 4:30?
So then I guarantee I can go to the gym. Because sometimes I get called in, I have to do things.
Okay.
Also, then I don't have to deal with
People.
yes.
Okay, that's fair.
And dealing with like these are the weights I'd like to use. I'm going to go use them now.
God, I do appreciate that. That's for sure.
Right.
However, this guy who said he was having a midlife crisis had his car stolen, and after about 6-7 months, he was like, you know what, I'm gonna try and get a new one. And he said, so I decided to start looking to replace the car. He called it was a bit of a midlife crisis car, and you don't get many of those. So I was looking for more or less the identical car, and the one caught my eye was the identical color, make, model, even down to the custom exhaust. So it seemed perfect. He said the new Honda had a different plate on it. He said I went down to the garage to check it out. But I think my judgment was a little clouded by how desperate I was to replace my car, so I didn't do the most thorough check. But when I went to put a few things in the boot trunk, I noticed a tent peg and some Christmas tree pines in there. He goes, I also shattered a bottle of beer about a year before and could quite never get rid of the smell. So I could smell the beer, and I noticed some wrappers in the central column that I was almost certain were mine. I started driving home feeling a little strange about the situation because it all could have been a coincidence. So I suddenly had the idea of checking the sat-nav history. Sure enough, there was my address, my parents' address, my partner's address, and places we'd visited the previous few years. It dawned on me that my phone connected instantly as I left the garage rather than needing it to pair to the new device. It was pretty clear at this point that it was my car. Contacted the police. The VIN number didn't match my original car, but there were indications that things had been tampered with. A chrome embossed VIN was missing by the engine bay. The VIN on the door frame was a sticker where you could see something was previously bolted. The engine serial number had been painted over. I also started to notice scratches and marks that were the same. So they plug it in.
Mm-hmm.
They're able to electronically verify that it is indeed his car.
Are you happy about it?
I mean,
do you get your money back?
So here's ultimately they were able to confirm that it was indeed his car.
Which is good.
Yeah, you got your car back. I'm sure it's not in the same shape. Probably a little bit more wear and tear.
Well, there's a new license plate, so it's a little different.
He goes, the police are now handing the car over to my insurance company, who will either get it road legal again in a position that can be insured on my original policy again, or pay out the car if that costs more than the car. It's more likely they'll unclone it and ultimately give it back to me because the VIN number is cloned. That's the dead giveaway.
So the people that sold it to him,
mm-hmm.
You got to be sweating in your boots, right? You got to instantly be going,
well, it goes,
hey, we're going to get in trouble for something big time.
Here's where it comes to the garage. We noticed a whole series of honesty while at the garage. The car came with invoices from the garage with staff names. The Honda technicians point out no one with those names had ever worked there, and the phone number on the invoice was wrong. So they spoofed the invoices, too. They also spotted another invoice from a Honda specialist in the area. That same place had issued a statement a few days before warning people that they'd come across a few fake invoices in their name. So they were able to dupe this garage into buying this car because they were like, well, it seems like it's on the up and up.
So someone that's doing that works in the garage.
If not that garage, has experience in a garage.
Right.
Sure.
Someone who is stealing and selling all this stuff, they work in a garage or in that one specifically. I'd be having, now you have to go through all the other cars, don't you? Make sure that you don't have multiple stolen cars. Because if there's one, what are the odds that you caught the one?
I mean, it's a theft ring.
Right.
Whoever sold them the car, you're not ripping off cloning VINs and fabricating invoices without having additional stuff behind this.
Right. And it's not your first move. This wasn't some high school kid.
Mm-hmm. So that's story number one. Story number two, which I said the disgruntled employee. We're getting twofers in here today just because there's just that one, just like the likelihood of that is so crazy. It's like lightning striking the same place twice. This one comes to us from Disney and, of course, Florida. A disgruntled former Disney employee was sentenced to 3 years in prison for hacking into the menu creating system used by the park's restaurants to falsely say foods were safe from certain allergies when they were not.
What's the point of doing that?
40-year-old Michael Schurrer pled guilty to several computer-related crimes after a contentious termination from the Mouse in 2024 from his job as menu production manager at Walt Disney World.
What's his benefit? Like, people get sick or possibly die now?
And that they wouldn't be able to check this and trace this back?
This guy's an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
Yeah. So he's already spent 6 months in jail during the process, and so he'll serve 80 or 85% of his total sentence after this, according to his attorney. He's very remorseful and apologized to the victims during the hearing. He's eager to get back home to his wife and 3 young daughters. He's the sole earner for his family, has medical issues, and blah, 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 blah. Sob story. Yeah.
They won't be there. When you get out, they won't be there if you're the sole earner, bud.
The government argued that he should be sentenced to the full 70 months, which was available. Instead, he got 36.
Sometimes there are crimes that happen.
You could get somebody killed. Like peanut allergies, like I'll just put this out there.
Tree nuts.
My sister has a macadamia nut allergy that will kill her.
Yeah.
We found this out. Luckily enough, had an EpiPen in the car. It was a white chocolate chip macadamia nut cookie, and I would say she was 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah.
Her throat swelled up to the point where she could not breathe.
Wow.
Within a minute.
Right.
Like, if you get this stuff wrong, someone can die.
Literally. And from multiple different things, seafood, shellfish,
The nuts is the one
allergies,
is like
tree nuts.
Like that's the one that can like get you like an asphyxiation.
Right.
Can get you quite quickly depending on the severity of the allergy. Shellfish usually get the
swell
the
up
hitch,
big,
the swollen face kind of deal.
But like the prank, let's go back to the prank calls.
Yes, that's why I wanted to bring this in here. This is an actually like toxic thing that's damaging.
Exactly. Because like as dumb as the prank calls were, and they were dumb.
They were.
Your harm is that like you made someone feel bad. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lame thing to do, and it's a dumb thing to do, and you shouldn't do it. But you made someone feel bad.
And you're 19 and you're a dumb kid. This is a 40-year-old man.
This is murder. Potentially.
Yeah, I mean, manslaughter. Somebody could die from this.
He's lucky someone didn't die.
Yeah.
He is lucky because it would not be 36
Think about the number of people
months.
who go through the Disney World every day and eat there.
And how many of them have some kind of allergy that like literally could have killed them?
This is like, again, this is the dumbest. And for what? Disney was going to get sued? You don't think that the lawyers weren't going to dig into every log everywhere?
Yeah. What was your win?
I like.
What was your like? I got him.
It sounds like the dumbest smart guy that's ever existed.
Doesn't sound smart to me at all. Even I know that. Why do you think I didn't Google Girls Gone Wild Dirty on my computers here?
Coward.
Well, yes, but also
coward.
I'd like to still have this job.
Fair enough. All right, coming up next, we're going to pivot back to the NFL draft as there's a little bit of news coming out. Not necessarily news. I just find this one interesting. Brandon Beane, the general manager for the Buffalo Bills, went on local radio and kind of read him the riot act. And I think this pairs nicely with what Adam Silver was talking about and how you talk about the game and how the reactionary stuff and just always complaining about everything. Maybe just go full Aaron Rodgers here and relax. We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan.
Check out
draft grades and the things that come out of them. I think it's an interesting topic when you talk about the immediate blow up or praise of a pick, unless you're talking about like truly transcendent talents where you're just like, look, I'll use myself in this. Like, I still very much believe in Caleb Williams, and not just because he was at USC, but because I watched him play live multiple times, and like the way he plays the game feels special. And you can see that in guys, whether it's the NFL or the NBA. Like, I'll say it with Cooper Flagg. I will be shocked, and this is outside of Victor Wembanyama and probably LeBron James, I will be shocked if he doesn't make an All-NBA team in his career. Like, that will somehow be a disappointment because of, again, seeing those guys up close, not LeBron, but seeing Wemby and Flagg up close and personal before they ever played a second in the NBA, you just see something so different. But in the NFL, because things are so much more diverse, the impact of a singular player outside of the quarterback position can be skewed, I think, and you get into these draft grades that can be reactionary of like, you build up this thing, whether it's, Shedeur Sanders. I think part of the reason why the reaction is so much is because I think so many people in the draft community were afraid to push Shedeur Sanders down simply because they were afraid of the repercussions that came along with that. And that's Deion Sanders calling you an idiot. You've never played a day in the NFL. What do you know? Da-da-da. Look, there's a lot. I am very much a believer in listen to what players say. And it's not exclusively, because there are players in both the NBA and the NFL. When I hear them talk about things, I go, I am now dumber for having heard you speak on this. Because just because you play a game doesn't mean you're great at looking at it, at analyzing it, or making decisions. Otherwise, these legends of the game, like Michael Jordan as an owner, they would do better in those positions because it's a different thing. But I really appreciate Bills general manager Brandon Beane, who hopped on the radio in Buffalo and basically said, hey guys, maybe simmer down a little bit.
Just in the last few minutes of your show before I came on, waiting on here.
All right.
Sounds like 2018 all over with you guys.
Well, how so?
Well, you guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. Like, we just hold on, let me talk. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points when you add all the postseason. No one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show and you got to have something to about, but about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
I mean, Beane's kind of spitting there, if I'm being honest, because it's about the results. And again, the audio is courtesy of WGR 550 in Buffalo, our sister station in Buffalo. And it's funny because much like us here, they have the YouTube clip, and I can see the looks on their faces of like, yeah, I guess. Well, Josh Allen worked out a little bit better than Josh Rosen, huh? Didn't it? Like,
say it with your chest, man. And I can appreciate that. But it's also why the mock draft grades, the immediate aftermath of like, that was a good pick, that was a bad pick, is stupid.
To me, it's about process. That's the thing when you talk about process, not the immediate result. And that's what we're going to do here. And when we get into hour number 3, we're going to go back into the NFL draft and talk about some of these grades and like where these sliding kind of views kind of come from. Because I think it is important to talk about process. Like, one of those teams being the Baltimore Ravens, who seemingly have great defensive players falling in their lap over and over and over again. Why does that matter?
Seattle's clear process that they had in this draft. When you look at who they took, it's very clear what they're doing.
Yes.
They are going for the best athletes in the positions that they need, and they're trusting that they will turn them into future NFL stars. Not just starters, stars. But I always go back to the immediate aftermath of the mock draft. Mel Kiper, who won, who lost, who gets an A grade, who doesn't. It's all based on where Mel Kiper had people slotted and how you took them.
Yes.
Cleveland Browns, they got an A+ from Mel. I think it's pretty fair to say.
Because he had Shedeur Sanders, who was a 5th-round pick, the 144th pick in the draft.
He was his number 1 QB. You know, like go look at it's. I think if I remember right, it's Bleacher Report's Seattle Seahawks 2012 NFL draft
Got
review.
absolutely murdered. Called it the worst draft in the league because they took
took Bruce Irving one, who ended up being a stalwart on that championship.
Bobby
team.
Wagner,
Bobby Wagner 2, and Russell Wilson 3.
A quarterback who doesn't do anything that they like to do because they had just gotten out of the Hasselbeck Sean Alexander era.
Right.
Where they're whipping it around the field, playing offense like crazy. Well, yeah, you have a new head coach. Remember, that was Pete.
They said
first,
Pete would be. They said
didn't know what he was doing in the NFL.
They said he would end up, if I remember correctly, they said this is why he'd end up being fired. Because that was year 3 of Pete.
Yes.
I think that's his second draft, but that's going into year 3 because he had that Hasselback crew.
Yeah.
And they made the trade for Marshawn. They have the Beastquake. They win a playoff game. Then the next year, they don't make the playoffs. It's clear they're in transition.
They make the trade for Flynn going into the draft.
Right. They had like Tavares Jackson or somebody starting. And they trade for Sidney Rice. So they start making a bunch of big moves. That's when the draft before would have been when they had Okung and Earl Thomas. I believe Cam Chancellor's a part of that one. Sherman's a part of one of these drafts.
And then Browner is 2013 or 14.
And they signed him out of Canada.
Yeah.
Like they went out and just grabbed him from like Winnipeg.
Yeah, the moves that they made over a 3-year period, pretty damn good.
And they got ripped apart for them. And I remember reading those drafts in high school being like, man, this is a bummer. My Seahawks are going down the wrong path. And it was the best time frame and with the best players in Seahawk history.
Yes.
There's never been a 5-year run better than that for Seattle. And it's largely because of those people.
You literally got Hall of Famers out of it.
Yes.
Bobby Wagner is going to be a Hall of Famer. Richard Sherman is going to be a Hall of Famer.
Russell Wilson might be. He's not going to be first ballot, but he's going to be right around that line of demarcation.
What's going to be interesting is what happens with Chancellor and Thomas because of other stuff.
Well, Chancellor would be injury too early.
Yes.
Earl Thomas, if you're not accounting for off-the-field factors, there's no reason why he shouldn't be. And I think that people are starting...
I think it might hold him back.
See, I was going to say, I think people are starting to forget about it.
Yeah, well...
Give it time. It'll
resurface. But you do have, like, legitimately 2 first-ballot Hall of Famers in Sherman and Bobby Wagner.
Easily. No question about it. And Marshawn's probably going to get in
and
there
Marshawn
as well.
Yeah, like it's, again... The whole idea of like this is the end all be all, like I have sat here and I have sang the Raiders praises because they are doing the thing that I have wanted them to do. This is very similar to when Joe Cronin took over for the Trailblazers of like doing the thing that selfishly I want to see done, trading back, getting value, taking the best player available. Like, but I'm spoiling it here. We'll dive into that all coming up next year in hour number 2. NFL draft grades, why they don't matter, and why using them as a point of discourse for process matters for organizational decisions. We'll get to that next year on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan. Danny Brang here. It's springtime. The best time to get to those home projects you put on the back burner. How about that bathroom stuck in a time warp? Spring forward with a serious upgrade. Get it done with YHIC, your home improvement company, with their biggest sale of the year. It's a once-in-a-year event, so take advantage because these guys are a game changer for your home, and here's why. You can transform your space with up to 30% off on a bathroom remodel, plus up to an additional 10% off and a free shower pan or bathtub. Imagine turning your bathroom into a spa
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, you now have multiple NBA insiders reporting unfortunate news for Bucks star Damian Lillard. He officially tore his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Bucks-Pacers series. Bucks would go on to lose that game. They're now down 3-1 in the series. Unfortunately for Lillard, this is going to officially end his season and could cause him, because of the time frame of when the injury happened, to miss most of this season and next season as well. Mariners are off today, fresh off their series victory over the Marlins. Seattle has won 6 series in a row, hottest team in baseball. They start a short 2-game series at home against the Angels tomorrow in T-Mobile Park. A historic draft for the Oregon Ducks. They had a program record of 10 players selected in the 2025 draft. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
It's back. The 11th annual Fan Golf Classic at Langdon Farms Golf Club happens Tuesday, June 24th.
Monday afternoon. Thank you for being with us, whether you're listening on 1080 AM, watching along on youtube.com/1080 AM The Fan, or twitch.tv/1080 AM The Fan. We appreciate you. We love you. No Dusty, no Rusty. Will Ortner in today. Hopefully the whole gang is back tomorrow. If not, we'll drag Will in here again. But it's hour number 3, and we're going to pivot back to the NFL draft. And we just talked about how NFL draft grades and killing this, that, or the other. It doesn't really make a ton of sense, because all you're going off of is nothing.
You're going off of
you're
where I value
Yes.
you as a player.
Mhm.
It's, hey, Danny, I think that you are a great running back. You are a round 2 running back for me. And then you get taken in the 3rd round. I go, what a steal.
What an absolute steal. And obviously the biggest cases of this are the undrafted Hall of Famers like John Randall, or Mr. Irrelevant Brock Purdy being a good quarterback, or the biggest one is Tom Brady being a 5th round quarterback. And there's all these things that come with it. And yes, those are the exceptions, not the rule. You don't find superstars in the NFL typically outside of the first 2 rounds. There are obviously exceptions. The Kurt Warners and Tom Brady's and John Randall's notwithstanding, there are 2nd and 3rd round, 4th round guys pretty regularly that are pretty damn good. But it's just not all that common. And so when you look at how things went during the draft, I don't know if you've seen all of the grades for every team through and through out there, Will.
Depends on each team. Each person has a different thing. Right?
I will say there is one team that's getting killed. One team by everyone. And not even getting killed, just everybody kind of scratching their head. Do you know who that is?
Jacksonville?
They're kind of hit or miss. It's not Jacksonville, though.
Who?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, I get it.
The Cincinnati Bengals, with their first 2 picks, took Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M and Demetrius Knight from South Carolina. Defense. Real quick, Shamar Stewart, edge rusher. Are the Bengals currently in negotiations with their star edge rusher?
What team? I'm sorry. I'm over here cutting the
Bengals.
podcast. The Bengals, Trey Hendrickson.
Seems like it's some insurance there at bare minimum.
Well, okay. So, yes, but here's my issue with Shamar Stewart. What doesn't Shamar Stewart have?
A motor?
stats. And I get it, man.
It's the idea, because you look at him, he looks like Javon Curse.
Great. He also plays like Jane. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. Because when you look at a player like that, there needs to be more stats for me personally. Now, stats aren't end-all, be-all.
This is Cameron Maben 2.0.
Right. Stats
that's what I see here.
Deion Jordan.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Deion Jordan went top 5.
Yeah. And Deion Jordan was, what, 6'6" or 6'7"?
Deion Jordan was huge.
I mean,
and he could play inside, he could play outside, he was fast. But you know what he never did at Oregon?
Produce.
He never dominated.
No.
You know what I mean? And look, I'm not out here saying Abdul Carter doesn't have the most sacks last year. Abdul Carter didn't have the most sacks in the Big Ten.
No.
Right? Mateo Uyunglele beat him out. But he was right there with him. And you could
And his
see,
production everywhere else was also
you could
very
also
good.
see when you turned on the film, like, that's a dude. He's all over the field. Turn on the film for Oregon. Jordan Birch is all over the field. Jordan Birch is making plays everywhere. He was the third-round guy. Derek Harmon was making plays all over the field from a D-tackle spot. And he ended up being a first-round guy, but it made sense. Shamar Stewart is 100% built on, he is a big, strong, physical kid. He's a freak athlete, but he has no stats.
Mm-hmm.
He's like 2 sacks and 15 tackles for his career.
And he also, his family scares the crap out of me.
He played for Texas A&M. Their head coach, Elko, is a defensive background coach.
Did you see his dad in the interview?
No, I didn't at all.
He had a Thanos jewelry piece
That's dope.
and a grill in, top and bottom.
That rocks.
I immediately saw T. Morant, and I wanted nothing to do with him. I was like, nope. Don't like it when the parents live vicariously through their children. Don't like that one bit. And for anybody out there who's thinking, oh, you don't like it because it's a black culture thing, I don't care about jewelry. I don't. I care about dad wearing jewelry, living vicariously through son. Dad always, if I'm an evaluator, I don't care if it's football, baseball, or basketball, hockey. I don't care. I see parents like that. I'm like, oh boy, I don't like this. Not one bit. What's interesting about the Bengals is they drafted one skill position player. Their last pick, they took a running back. Otherwise, it was the offensive line or the front seven their entire draft. They took edge, linebacker, guard, linebacker, tackle, running back. They're getting killed for their quote-unquote draft grade, but what is the thing that everybody agreed that the Bengals needed to shore up?
They need to fix that defense. It was bad. One, if you're going to let Trey Hendrickson look for his own trade,
but in the
shouldn't
draft,
you get his replacement other than Shamar Stewart?
I don't disagree with that. But like, if you're talking about process, they're set at quarterback. They're set at wide receiver.
Clearly.
You want to get him some offensive line help. So you take Dylan Fairchild, the other guard opposite of Tate Ratledge from Georgia.
Yeah. Good. Stud.
Like,
strong, physical.
Everything you look at here, despite the grade, you look at it and you go, I don't know, man. Seems like they went in with a plan to shore up their front, and they shored up their front on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, well, and it's not going to be sexy, and so the people rip on it. I think I would have to read the different opinions that are ripping on the mock draft, and I
will tell you, CBS, ESPN, PFF,
right,
everything that I've gone through, every single draft grade, I've been kind of going through them this morning. The one that consistently grades the lowest is the Bengals.
See, and I don't fully get that. Like,
the Colts are tossed in there too, and I'm like,
I would toss Jacksonville in there.
Which is funny because if you look at CBS, Jacksonville gives them a B+.
Well,
but their first 4 picks have A grades.
See, but here's why Jacksonville is going to be viewed as higher and why I'm going to view them lower. You gave up too much for Travis Hunter. The amount of picks that you gave up.
Another first.
You gave up another first next year.
And you're
for Travis Hunter.
You better win 10 games.
You better make the playoffs. If you don't make the playoffs, it's not worth it. And that's why I think it's a bad draft for them.
That's why it's process, because exactly what you're talking about. If you need to have X, Y, and Z happen for something to make sense,
right,
the process is flawed.
No, well, you're overvaluing what you have. They are saying that Cohen is going to come in and he's going to fix Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence is going to go back to being what we thought
On
he
the
could be
ascent.
out of college, right? He's going to go back to what he was his first year or two in the NFL, and they are going to go out and win 11 to 12 games. And I get it, man. The South, it's a soft league, right? I don't think that highly of the Colts. The Titans are going to be better, but they're not going to be good. So it's you and Houston, who took a clear step back last year. So you might win that division and get into the playoffs. But do you really think they're a Super Bowl team? Like,
No.
best case scenario? No, absolutely not. They're nowhere near a Super Bowl team. That move for Travis Hunter is if he's the last piece.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's not the last piece,
No, and
which is why it doesn't make sense, which is why I think they should be getting ripped more.
I agree. Again, on process, I agree.
Right.
When you look at this draft, who are the teams you thought did the best?
I think a little bit homerish. I thought the Seahawks did great. They went out and they had a clear plan that they were going to go through for their draft. They were going to draft positions of need, and they were going to get the best athletes in those positions. And they are trusting that their coaches are going to be able to turn them into football players. They essentially, in the second round, drafted Cam Chancellor, Sean Taylor 2.0 in Nicky Minwari, right? If Jalen Milroe can learn to accurately throw the football short and medium, he is
It's a big ask.
It's a big ask. And you haven't really seen it happen for anyone except for maybe Josh Allen.
Yeah.
But if you can turn him into that, he's a top 5 QB if the other athletic intangibles are there and stay the same. Right?
Sure.
But if he doesn't, you wasted a 3rd round pick on him. Gray Zabel is one of the freakiest guards athletically in the NFL walking in right now. And he's also a guy that has starts in college at every position.
Yeah.
He can play guard, he can play tackle, he can play center.
And not only can he has.
Right. And that's huge.
That's a lot
for
of
you.
versatility, not just from like the standpoint of, well, he can be here, there. Like, he's the kind of guy where I think the best offensive lines in football have these guys. You look at the Lions, you can move Panay around. You
Yes.
can move Ragnow around. Like, if somebody's dinged up, you can move a guy around. You look at the Eagles, you can move Juergens around.
You can
Now,
move Becton around.
You have to say,
even.
he has been moved around.
You can move,
He's played both sides, and he's been moved inside.
You can move Landon Dickerson around. The only one you really can't move
Mailata.
around, and you're not going. Well, I was going to say Johnson, but yes.
Yes, those two guys you're not moving around because they're so big.
Well, they're also so good at the
Yes.
position that they play, right? I feel like Philly, like you start looking at some of their picks that they had. It's like, how did that guy fall to them? How did that guy get there? How'd they come up with that?
Both
guy?
them and the Ravens.
They always find good draft picks. They always find a way to succeed.
They're not drafted for need.
No, and they're smart about the picks that they make. You've talked about your Raiders. I thought the Raiders had a good draft. And you know what? Aside from one pick, I think Cleveland had a good draft.
And you can argue that taking Shador in the 5th round was a good pick.
You can make the argument that if you flip Shador and Dylan Gabriel, like it's Shador in the 3rd, Dylan Gabriel in the 5th. Everyone loves that draft.
Oh yeah,
even with taking 2 QBs,
because
rookie
your
QBs.
QB room is a disaster piece.
It's a disaster piece, and they both fit what Stefanski wants. He wants a smart quarterback who's going to get the ball out quickly but accurately, and he's not going to ask that QB
To do a lot.
to have a strong arm.
No.
He doesn't need him to. That's why they went out and they got 2 running backs, right? They got the Judkins kid. I thought he was otherworldly at Ohio State. Remember how highly we thought of Travion Henderson going into this year?
Good Lord.
I'd make the argument that Quinshon Judkins was the better running back last year. And he can run physical, downhill. Guess who else they got? They got the Samson kid out of Tennessee. He's the whole Tennessee offense because it wasn't Nico, right? That was the weird thing about that offense at Tennessee because Josh Heupel, it's usually the QB. This one was about the running back. And Samson ran the ball well. He's a little bit smaller than Judkins, so you get that thunder lightning type feel. They had a good draft. They got Mason Graham. That dude is a beast on the interior.
You traded down.
Got
You got
picks for
that
next
capital that you got from the Jaguars, and you got one of the blue chip prospects in Mason Graham.
And he's in a position of need, and you're going to put him next to Myles Garrett. And now
Terrorize people.
Now Myles Garrett's either going to get more one-on-ones or he's going to get more one-on-ones. Graham, Graham's one weakness, what is it? Can't rush the passer. Guess who he's next to? Myles Garrett. Doesn't need to rush the passer. Or he can learn a little bit from him. And you know what you're starting to see in the NFL that have a lot of success because it's a copycat league? Undersized nose guards, undersized defensive tackles that can rush the passer, that are fast, they're athletic. Aaron Donald was able to do it. Now Chris Jones. Now you're looking at Grady Jarrett did it, right? So now you're looking at a guy like Mason Graham, who if he can turn on that motor, what could he possibly do? It's a good draft, except for one pick.
And even then, it might end up being
the best.
Really good for them. And I will say, you're going to go home with the Seahawks. I am going to mention my Raiders. I have not been this happy with a draft 20 years.
Which is funny.
Maybe longer.
Because Pete's not known for having good drafts in the moment.
Spytech, I thought, did an incredible job. We talked about how if the Raiders took Genty, I was going to buy my first Raiders jersey in 20 years. I did. It'll be here once they assign him his number. Like I will, the second it gets here, I will wear it here on the show. I will wear it proudly because I am excited about that.
Should be.
Jack Betch ripped my heart out. For those that don't know, his brother Tiger was a football player at Princeton, was at home during the New Orleans terrorist attack, and was one of the victims. And even if Jack wasn't drafted by the Raiders, I would want him to go into the NFL and be the most successful wide receiver I've ever seen in my entire life. The way he talked about his brother, and he has a tattoo of his day he was born to the day he was died on his chest. And, you're just like, are you kidding? Like he goes, when he said he got drafted, he goes, "You're not just drafting me, you're drafting him too. And I'm going to carry this legacy on, and I'm going to do everything I can." And all of the intel on him, the character, like everything that he is, like, I'm like, man, like, because when you think about the Raiders, you think about bad boys, but you also think about those kind of guys too, that have character just you wouldn't believe, whether it's Charles Woodson or Rod Woodson, whether it's, they had the Romanowskis of the world, and they had the Tatums of the world, and they had guys that would tear your head off, but they also had the Art Shells and the Tim Browns, these guys of upstanding character that, defined Raider culture. It's like you have the extremes of both ends, and the Raiders have missed that. They address the offensive line. They take some projects. They also couldn't resist a 6'5" guy that runs a 4.3 40.
Well, I mean, that's the Raider way.
Hey, baby, run fast, straight line. We like that. And then they took the Montana State quarterback in the 6th round.
That's a sneaky steal. He could play like 4 different positions.
One of the best athletes in the draft.
Dude, like, there's a world where he stays at QB. Like, in reality,
just gadget QB.
You're going to have a package for him. Whether you use it or not, I don't know. But there's a reason why they call him Touchdown Tommy. He's awesome.
There's some Taysom Hill stuff to him.
Yup, and he's bigger.
Yeah, and faster.
He runs like a 4.3.
Yeah, he's a freak. Like I said, he's one of the best athletes in the draft. Like you look at the
he's a freak.
What is the RAC score? Is that what it is? RS. His RS score was through the roof. Like he's an absolute freak of freaks. So again, process wise, I don't know what the Raiders this is gonna end up being, but process wise, I think the teams that went in with an idea of what they wanted to do and who they wanted to be did really well.
I couldn't agree more. And like we've said, as good as we might think, like as good as I think the Seahawks draft is, there is a world in 5 years where we look back on it and we go, wow, they took a lot of reaches and they missed on all of them.
Yeah, those revisionist draft picks are always a lot easier to do.
Would I be shocked if Gray Zabel wasn't a really good NFL player? Yes, I would be. Would I be shocked if Milroe wasn't? No. It's
a boomer bust pick. There's no doubt about it.
There are a lot of boomer bust picks. I feel like with Eamon Wari, I don't feel as boomer busty. Like there's definitely a bust.
There's also
for sure.
There is some poetic justice to Richard Sherman being the one reading his name.
It could only have been better if it was Cam.
Yeah.
Like that's the only way it could have been better.
Because he's built just like him.
Well,
just what is he, 6'3", 220?
He's 6'3", 230. He's running a 4.3 40, and he had a vertical of 43.
Yeah, he's a freak.
He's unbelievable.
And
I
he
get
hits.
100%. And I get it. I think this is the most apt critique of the Seahawks draft. The Seahawks went out and they drafted a bunch of dudes who throw 104 miles an hour, but they're all erratic.
Oh, yeah.
If you can get 2 or 3 of them to be dialing it in so they're hitting 104 on the paint, that thing's over.
Yeah.
They're going to be a good team and a good franchise for a long way to come. And remember, a lot of those guys that they got, Nicky Minwari, where does he play? Plays safety. It means he's going to be on the defense with McDonald, the same guy. Now, I don't want to say a much better prospect, but a better prospect coming out of college. He turned Kyle Hamilton into the best safety in the entire NFL.
It's a good landing spot for him.
I'm going to trust him to do the same thing with Eamon. Julian Love can go back to his more natural position. I'm fired up.
All right, let's pivot back to the NBA because outside of the Damian Lillard injury, before that injury happened, we had some of the best playoff basketball we have seen in a while, including the closest game winner in the history of basketball in the Clippers and Nuggets game. We'll get to that next here on Danny and Dusty, 1080 The Fan.
It's back.
Goes without saying, the best playoff series in the first round belongs to the Denver Nuggets and the Los Angeles Clippers. A game that ended 101-99 in a game that the Denver Nuggets scored 16 points in the fourth quarter. They were outscored 34-16 after outscoring the Clippers 35-17 in the third quarter. Came down to the final stretch that saw Nikola Jokic throw up an air ball and Aaron Gordon get a putback where 9/10 of the ball is through the rim with 0.1 seconds remaining, but his fingertips are still on the ball. In the moment, I jumped up and went, that has to be good.
Same.
Like, I don't care if his finger, like, if you want to say the ball needs to be out of his hands, blah, 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 the ball is too far through the rim. It's just too, like, it is the closest game winner I've ever seen, ever.
It's the last since like the 90s where someone has actually had a
point
dunk.
One. Yeah.
And it be a buzzer beater. I felt like whatever they called on the court was going to be correct. Like, I don't think, let's say they wave it off, they say it's after. I don't know that video could have completely changed it.
I'm with you. If your immediate reaction on the court was no good,
then it was going to be
no
good.
I think you could say that it was no good because his fingertips on the ball. But, like, it's one of those things where I would have been like, I probably would have counted that.
And I'm glad that they did, because I'm a big believer also sometimes, if it's really cool, just let it go. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, hey, that was awesome. Let it go. Let it be a thing.
The dead sketch.
Yes. Hey, that was awesome. Let's count it.
Yeah.
But I think the fun thing about this series is it's really showing the world again who the best player is.
Yeah.
Like, SGA is probably going to win the MVP.
Yeah, no, he's
the only reason that the Nuggets are in this series at all is because of a dribble down the Clippers' leg, figuratively and literally, in game one. Kawhi and Harden had multiple bad turnovers in the fourth quarter, just bad. And then
this
Jokic being unbelievable.
Yeah, 36, 21, and 8.
He's 36, unbelievable.
21, and 8. They got 4 points from their bench. The starters for the Nuggets in this game played 43, 42, 43, 42, and 43 minutes.
And you weren't getting a great game from Porter. Your fine game, but he's out there with one shoulder.
Yeah, I mean, the rebounding was not going to be there because of the shoulder, which you saw. He only had 4 rebounds, no offensive rebounds.
It hasn't been a great series for Jamal Murray.
Like, no,
he's been
fine. He was 5 of 17. He was objectively not good. And not only was he not good as a scorer, they hunted him.
Right. Like, it feels like in this series, it's Jokic. Aaron Gordon's going to be awesome too, but he's awesome because Jokic is awesome. It's not Aaron Gordon creating for himself. Mm-hmm. It's him doing that. Playing strong defense and then getting great offensive rebounds and getting his points that way. And then it's just a hope between Porter, Braun, and Murray that one of them is going to come up big and have a bunch of points.
Or otherwise, you get what you got when you got 14, 17, and 17. Like, you get enough from the collective.
Exactly.
You basically get 38-plus points from those 3 guys.
And you can notice it too, where like Jokic is just going to decide in certain spots where he's like, I have to score.
Oh, I mean, the frustration is overwhelming. You can see it's like, oh my God. Like, he has looked at other teammates, particularly off the bench, of like, you can't play.
Right.
Like, you don't belong here.
Well, and at times it almost looks like he's coaching where he's like, hey, no, I need this player in for this specific play, this minute. And you'll look on the box score and be like, why'd that guy play 2 minutes? Like, what was going on? Well, Jokic needed him for that play in that matchup. But the other part that I find so funny is, or maybe not funny, but just enjoyment out of this series, Kawhi's back. 2019, Kawhi is back.
Yeah, I mean, he had a quote-unquote down game for what he has been from the playoffs. He finished with 24, 9, 2, and 2 on 10 of 22, so just under 50% from the field, 2 of 5 from 3. But what ended up happening in this game was the Nuggets were able to force the ball to Chris Dunn a little bit more. He was 1 of 9 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. Nick Batum was 1 of 6 from the field, 1 of 6 from 3. So you get 6 points on 15 shots between those two. And I don't want to blame those guys, but that's where the offense kind of fell apart. Because Ivica Zubac was very good in this game. 19 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. This is like the key to me was the deciding factor in this series because you can single cover Yoke with him and then kind of dictate from there. But I think you're right as far as like what the Clippers have done in this series. Right. I don't think the Nuggets have done enough to win. I think the Clippers have done enough to lose.
Right. And the part that's crazy is they've done it without the bad Harden game. Like Harden hasn't had a quote unquote bad Harden game, and everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, like, was he spectacular on Saturday? No. But 15, 11, and 4 on 5 of 11, like he didn't dominate the shots. They shot like the problem was they shot 33% from 3.
Right.
That's the problem.
Right.
The Nuggets don't hit threes. And so if you just hit threes at a decent rate, they walk away with this game. But I will keep banging this drum as long as it goes on. 101.99. Games that are played around 104.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is the best basketball. And every one of these games that has been down to the knuckle have been this.
Well, in a lot of these series too, like there is a clear difference, I believe. And I know you don't like this because it devalues the regular season. Mm-hmm. And I'm not trying to do that. But there has been a clear difference in postseason basketball, NBA, mm-hmm. and the regular season.
It is. It might as well be a different sport.
And if you told me that, and it can never be because it's 82 games and it just isn't going to be that. But if you told me 65 of the 82 games were going to be like these playoff games, where it is fighting, scratching, clawing, because this isn't the only series that's like this. I think the Minnesota-LA series with the Lakers has been like this. I think for the most part, Houston and Golden State have been like this. Even in a series that's kind of a blowout, Boston and Orlando, it's been kind of like
Boston's going to come out of that with scars.
Oh, literally.
Yeah. No, Porzingis got his forehead busted.
He's got the Harry
open.
Potter scar on his forehead right now. But you are seeing physical basketball. Mm-hmm. You're seeing games that are close the entire way throughout. They're not these big swings. You're seeing guys dive on the ground. You're seeing guys fight for balls. You're seeing...
Here's the thing. I think you can make that in the regular season if you officiate regular season basketball like you officiate playoff basketball.
See, and
we saw it last year.
Let's make that change.
Yes,
then.
They did it last year after the All-Star break, and everyone loved it. And then we reverted back to this perverted foul baiting nonsense.
This is where it sticks out in my head. I hate the foul baiting stuff. It drives me up the wall. It's why I don't like Harden.
Mm-hmm.
Game 2, Jalen Brunson.
Oh, it was egregious. It was egregious.
Well, and it isn't the worst that he's done, though.
No, it was so bad, though.
It was such bad basketball that I audibly said to the people I was watching the game with, I hate this game. Mm-hmm. This game went my way. From a gambling perspective, from just a fun perspective, this went my way because Detroit won. And I hated every minute of this game. Now, he's clearly backed off of that.
Yeah.
And there is a skill to it being smart.
No.
It
is.
Right?
It is a skill.
Good.
But it's the dark arts.
It's bad basketball.
Yes, it is.
It's basketball in bad faith. And it's why people have an issue at times with the NBA in the regular season. Give me this. And I know you can't give me this for 82.
Because there are bad teams, but yes, to your point.
Give me 65.
No, I think you can. Well, I think you can get that during the regular season if you call games like this. Right. And speaking of the way games are called and fouls or lack thereof, let's keep it in the NBA and talk about that Knicks and Pistons game because that was going to carry the day from the basketball world as Tim Hardaway Jr. was tackled on what could have been a potential game winner. Instead, no call. We'll get to that next. But first, here's Big Will Betts, the Sports Center Update.
Now, from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, unfortunate news for former Blazer Damian Lillard, now Bucks star. He officially tore his left Achilles in Game 4 of the Bucks-Pacers series. Bucks would go on to lose that game. That's going to officially end his season, and it could cause him to miss most of, if not all of next season, based on when the injury occurred. You got 2 Game 4s going on in the association tonight. First in the East, you got the Cavs looking to finish off Miami. They're up 3-0 in that series. Cleveland is favored by 8.5. Tip-off at 4:30. Then at 7, the Rockets looking to even up that series. They are down 2-1 right now against the Warriors. Jimmy Butler is questionable, though it does look like from some posts on social media he's going to do everything he can to give it a go. He missed Game 3. He has a pelvis injury that he suffered back in Game 2. Warriors are favored by 3.5 at home. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the George McCoy at Warren Allen Sports Desk. Hurt and missing work. Insurance companies acting like jerks. Don't call your mom. Call George McCoy at warrenallen.com.
This is your home for year-round.
Gonna beat this dead horse, but the basketball was really good this weekend up until Damian Lillard suffered an Achilles injury. And the basketball that we had, a unbelievable game between the Detroit Pistons and New York Knicks, ends in a no call. And I'm still waiting. I don't think I've seen it come out yet. Honestly, I think it should be out by now. I'm looking for the Monday last 2-minute report from the NBA.
They said it was a foul.
They did. Okay.
So, I thought I saw that.
I saw the
during the Lakers game. That's not the 2 minute. That's a different thing.
This was the referee and the pool reporter. I wanted to see exactly what the last 2-minute report was going to say verbatim. And so they've already. I can't remember who the reporter was that was available for the pool reporter after the game, but they said he ran into him, and no bleep. Tim Hardaway Jr. got tackled. I don't know how. Look, I want to let the players decide the game, but it's a sliding scale. He got absolutely trucked. There's no doubt about it.
Well, here's the dumb thing about let the players decide the game. He decided to foul him.
Yeah. And look, did Hardaway Jr. sell it a little bit? Yes, absolutely. Sure. But he has nowhere to go.
Right. Well,
because he's being tackled in midair.
He's also right next to the sideline. Here's my thing about it. I don't like blaming the refs for your loss.
No. Because Tim Hardaway Jr., to be clear, was 5 of 16, 4 of 13 from 3.
Right.
The Pistons as a team shot 7 of 29 from 3.
Well, instead of having Cade Cunningham go one-on-one, like put him in a pick and roll with someone, run a play, run a set. You had time to do it.
My God, how good was Cade?
Well, not only was he awesome, he got kind of outshined a little bit at the end by Cat.
Mm-hmm.
Cat couldn't miss. Like the shot behind the backboard's incredible, and he one-ups himself by shooting a shot from Sheboygan. Like he was way deep and fading away and bailing everyone out. Like
Look,
he was
Cat's
awesome.
offensive talent has never been in question.
No, 100%. He's the zestiest offensive player that you're
Yes.
ever going to have. But I'm not a big blame the refs. 47 out of 48 minutes in that game, and that was a game where they were letting them play. That is 100% a foul.
Yes.
And it would have been called. And I don't like the swallow your whistle crowd in the last minute. Look, the James Bradbury penalty in the Super Bowl sucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
It's ticky-tacky. I don't love that it got called in that moment.
None of us liked it, but we all understood. Like, we knew what it was as soon as we saw it happen.
It was a penalty.
Yeah.
It was 100% a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is a penalty or a foul or
if somebody
a
is
violation,
getting disadvantaged to where it's obvious,
it has to
it
be
has
called.
to it has to be called.
It has to be called. And look, it sucks that he goes to the free throw line with 0.5 seconds left, and that's going to determine the game.
Them's the breaks.
Don't foul him then, and like Hart's a very smart player because he's the one who fouled Hardaway there. He knew
he could get away with
it. And that's why he did it. And
Josh isn't a dummy.
The ref is right there. But the other thing too,
And the ref quite literally is stating right there.
Right. You look at the Hawk view or whatever, he's clearly right there.
Yeah.
But this is the other one that I have an issue with, where if Pistons fans and NBA fans are going to blame the ref, where was your challenge? Why couldn't you challenge there? What did you do to lose your challenge?
Oops.
When did you challenge? It's the worst challenge. He challenged an out-of-bounds play that was clearly out of bounds on Cade Cunningham in the first quarter.
He let Cade dictate to him, and that's the thing. Look, Chauncey Billups has done this a lot. It's trusting your players, but it's also you got to be smarter about it.
Use your staff.
Yeah, I know.
If I'm an NBA coach, I'm not challenging anything
look,
until the second half.
I mean, JB and Chauncey, they both use their staff, but also when you kind of it's very like when you talk about baseball, when you like what does a manager do? Like, oh, it's just analytics. No, man, there's relationships and feel, and you can say, oh, it's dumb and blah blah blah. It's like, look, man, you got to be in the locker room with these guys, and if you don't go to bat for them, and again, it was bang bang, it was close, but you probably shouldn't do it there in the playoffs because of how valuable that replay challenge is that deep in the game.
Yeah, I think JJ regrets one of his challenges.
Yeah.
Because there was a play in that game where it was clearly kicked out of bounds off Minnesota, and he couldn't challenge it because he wasted his. And I get it. I get what you're saying because that is true. And when your superstar comes to you in a pivotal game 4 and says you need to challenge that, it's wrong. I'd have a hard time not listening to that either.
It's just how it goes. I want to give a little note here real quick to the Memphis Grizzlies. We hardly knew ye. They are the first team bounced out of the NBA playoffs. The Oklahoma City Thunder get their sweep. And John Morant in the post-game press conference. Do we have that audio?
Oh, we have the audio.
Play that for me real quick.
I'm even scared to answer this question because, stuff I say normally go viral and they tend to stick with you for forever. But I had them figured out.
Oh, God.
And going out, game 3, not being able to play was frustrating because that win right there could have made this totally different. I felt like we'll be on our way to OKC, series tied 2-2 right now.
Don't let the intrusive thoughts win.
What are you talking about?
That hard pause right there. No, I'm not.
They were up. What are you talking about, man? Of course he had them figured out. They were going to go 2-2.
Brother, they beat you by a combined 70 points in the first 2 games.
He had them figured out. He needed to. He got to spot him. He was spotting him. It's like playing pool when you're playing someone that isn't as good as you. You let him hit a couple balls in first.
It's just, but why? But why?
I love that young dumb bravado.
Right? It's just incredible. I know we're up against it. I wanted to make sure I did mention the Pacers. The Pacers are up 3-1 over the Milwaukee Bucks, and this Pacers team is scary.
They're so much fun. They're as good as they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're going to take the Cavs to 6. I think they're still 1 to 2 pieces away.
Oh, no, they are. But if you told me that series went 6 or 7, it would not surprise me.
No. Not at all.
I've mentioned this so many times before, and I may have to start walking this one back after what Ant Edwards has done. I had somebody ask me 2 years ago who I would build a franchise with, Hallie or Ant Edwards. And I said Hallie because I know what I get from him. I know what he is. And the other stuff, you don't have to worry about. Hallie had 17 points, 15 assists, 8 rebounds on 6 of 11. He was incredible, and he has been incredible in the playoffs.
Yes.
Ant Edwards was a bleeping demon last night.
Dude, he's unbelievable. And the growth that he's taken this year compared to last year. Because
the big thing is it's the assists. It's the playmaking.
100%.
He has embraced that part of his game. And this was just a matter of months ago. It was January. We talked about, I don't want to be the guy that just makes passes out of double teams.
But it's the smart play.
That's how you win, dog.
It's the right play. Well, think about it. The Lakers in the fourth quarter blitzed him time after time after time. And he made the right move.
And Julius Randle and Jaden McDaniels hit shots.
And Naz Reid hasn't missed a shot in the fourth quarter this whole series. He hasn't missed a shot. He's 8 for 8. It's unbelievable. But it's because Ant Edwards is growing up. And I get why you would say Halliburton over Ant. It's not on the court.
It's the total package. It's like
off.
This is. I don't trust Ant. Like I think he's going to. I think he's gonna. Like he's stepped in it so many times. I'm like, is he gonna mature?
And it doesn't seem to stick with him, which is super interesting
because people like him because it's the Carmelo Anthony.
I like him.
It's the Carmelo Anthony of it all. It doesn't matter that he forced his way to New York and got way less by going to New York and by forcing the trade instead of just going there as a free agent because he was selfish.
Right. Like I forget about it with Ant all the time. Like every time something like the child payment, I'm the word.
Send a video.
I was going to say the
abortion demands.
You forget about I forget about him. I am part of the problem in the forgetfulness
or
of what
the comments about the people hanging out outside of the gay bar.
Right.
Like
that's not good.
No,
that's not okay.
And then you
but
see
it doesn't stick to him for some reason
because he's likable. He's affable. Oh, he's so fun. And if I see one more person comparing to Michael Jordan, I'm just gonna jump off a bridge. Go win 6 titles before we start comparing you to Jordan. Get to the Western Conference Finals and advance. Like, I get it. He's got nice post footwork. As a basketball player, he's incredible. And he's doing things beyond what I even thought he could do.
Right.
But let's chill on that stuff. But I do want to give him credit. He has been unfreaking believable.
It feels, and he's got a long way to go because you're going to have to go through SGA and the Thunder, and probably you're going to have to go through Golden State, I'm assuming.
That'll be the next matchup, yeah. Let's see what happens tonight because Jimmy Butler may or may not go tonight for Golden State, but they did pull off a win without him.
Right, and we did this last year when he beat Jokic and went on to go and lose to the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
So this is getting ahead of my skis.
Remember, Luka torched him and gave him the same look that he gave Devin Booker.
This feels like Steph in 2015, where he officially becomes a superstar.
Yep. He's stamping it right now.
And I think that if you go through his last year where he beats Jokic and he gets to the Western Conference Finals, under the age of 25, he then goes and wins a gold medal. He's the only young player on that gold medal team that really got a lot of playing time. Remember, Tatum and Hallie didn't play much.
No, not at all.
Right. He's the young one that played.
He is. He also thought he was going to be the star of that team, which he had to.
Yeah,
even though knock him down a peg or two.
Even Obama was like, chill out.
You need to chill, dog.
Chill out. But then what he's doing and has the potential to do here, like there's a reason why he gets the face of the league comparisons.
Yep.
And talks about. Like, this is what he is.
So we'll wrap up today's show with a little news and note nuggie that if you've been listening, Will has mentioned many times here today during his updates. The Ducks did pretty well at the draft. Danny and Dusty, Danny the Fan. Oh, if you've been listening to Big Will Betts during his updates, he has mentioned the Oregon Ducks have set a new program record as the Ducks have 10 players drafted in the NFL draft. Dusty and I, when we were talking on Friday, going into the NFL draft weekend, he said at most the Ducks could get was 9.
Well, a couple guys went high. I mean, Dylan Gabriel
went a lot earlier than anybody thought.
I think we were talking about him being a 6th, 7th round guy, and he ended up being a 3rd round guy. Terrence Ferguson went high. Jordan Birch, went high. Jordan James, like, you knew he'd get taken more than likely, but he got picked up. Like, the Ducks really had a lot of guys who were on that fringe of being taken to where they could hit this record, and I'm happy that they were able to hit it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the Ducks over now for the last 6 years, a new program record, 6 straight first-round picks, and then getting 10 total players. And you get into double digits, man, that shows you how good your roster was. You know, you saw a lot of people coming out as Ohio State player after Ohio State player got drafted this year going, that Ohio State team apparently had some dudes. It's like, yeah, but this Oregon team, their one loss on the season came to Ohio State. So, there you go. nice little shout out to the Ducks. You had yourself a nice little season. They did have their spring game. We will have Dusty hopefully back tomorrow, and we will talk all about that. Who shined? Who is poised to be the new face of the organization, of the program, as it were. We'll dive into some more playoff basketball. There's still a lot to go into that, including what the hell is going to happen to the Memphis Grizzlies, and then what comes out of tonight. It does sound like both Drew Holiday and Jaylen Brown may not be available for the Boston Celtics in their next matchup against the Magic. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have the opportunity to put down the Miami Heat and start the Miami Heat tailspin for the offseason. We'll get into that more tomorrow, but coming up next, 4 hours of power from their mouths to your ears. I have no idea who's here, but it's going to be prime time. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. For Will, Danny here. Take care. Talk soon.